And away we go on a Friday. Happiness is a choice. Thank you for choosing us, along with James Wesley. I am Ari Tepkett. So great to have you with us today and every day here in your home for the Big 12. We are presented by Modelo, and cheers to all you Modelo full-time fans out there. Modelo full-time fan rules. Rule number 2. You don't watch games, you live them. Preferably with a cold Modelo within arm's reach, James. Of course, that's what you'll need for this Saturday as we preview the Saturday slate of Big 12 hoops on today's show, plus plenty of guests lined up to be talking all things Big 12. And as you know, throughout the offseason of college football, the offseason never sleeps. There's no offseason. We'll be talking football, and some more football along with some basketball. We had the NFL honors last night. Congratulations to Tetairoa McMillan, a top 10 pick out of the Big 12 from Arizona who won the Offensive Rookie of the Year last night. It was sort of funny. They did this deal where they had somebody close to each rookie go up there and say something about them that was up for the award. And as it worked out, they actually had Tyler Shuck's father-in-law announce T-Mac as the winner of the award. It was kind of a bizarre twist. For the Defensive Player of the Year, they had the Defensive Rookie of the Year's father announce him as the winner, but for some reason they gave Tyler Shuck's father-in-law the honors of announcing T-Mac.
Well, I think we owe Tyler Shuck an apology because we were really on during the NFL draft process about him getting drafted at all because he had so many injury issues in college. Like his season, I did not see coming. Now, T-Mac definitely played above, even where he was drafted, played for a team that made the playoffs and had been so bad for so many years. I thought he got drafted in a really difficult spot, and it totally flipped, where he got drafted by a franchise that was on the cusp of doing something really special. Man, when he was at Arizona, he was unguardable. You could not cover the guy. There was nobody in America that could cover him at 6'5", 219 pounds, ran a 4.53 40. And just tore it up in the NFL this year.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give credit yet to Tyler Shuck because, I'm not convinced. Let me just say that. All right, the NBA Tankathon is on, James. There's a race to the bottom. There are teams that are sinking. How good is the 2026 NBA incoming rookie class or the NBA draft class? So good that there's probably 9 or 10 teams right now that are going to be sinking towards the bottom. All right, so you have 8 teams at the bottom right now in sinking. Sacramento, New Orleans, Indiana, Brooklyn, Washington, Utah, Dallas, and Memphis. Those are the 8 that are at the bottom of the standings and sinking fast. Amazingly, Sacramento is hilarious. They have Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, and they're not even trying to take it. They're still miserable. Worst record of the NBA. Did you see what the Bulls did, though, at the trade deadline? The Bulls traded basically all of their top assets that were their best scorers. Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, they just unloaded everything. They got 10 second-round picks in addition to some actually players, but they have basically their entire roster is guards. I think their tallest player right now is 6'8". They don't have a center, so the Bulls were kind of mid-pack, and now they're sinking quickly. So you add them to the mix. Plus, with the Bucks, if they end up trading Giannis, that's another team that's going to be sinking. So there could potentially be. Now 9 with the Bulls, 10 if Milwaukee ends up dealing or doing something with Giannis, maybe shutting him down, whatever. There is a race to the bottom right now. And there's obviously Peterson. Everybody wants Peterson. He's at the top of the food chain. But DeBonsa, Flemings, Koa Pete, Cam Boozer, Wilson at North Carolina, even Wagler from Illinois has entered the chat. It's Tankathon is on, man. It'll be egregious when we get to the end of the season. The last 30-so games of this season are going to be horrific for these 10 teams and for the NBA, quite frankly.
And this will be the most watched NBA draft lottery, not draft itself, that too, but just the lottery itself.
Yep.
There will be I cannot wait for that. And remember, they do it either between games or at halftime of one of the playoff games. It's at a really weird spot, but this year it's going to be massive. When you look at DeBonsa and Peterson and Wilson at North Carolina and Flemings at Houston. But I think after more and more teams get a taste of Darren Peterson, the race is on to get the next MJ or Kobe because he's been that dynamic in college. And the NBA draft lottery is a little different now. So the Mavericks and what they did beating all odds and getting the number one pick. Conspiracy theory or not, that's few and far between, right? Like the Mavs did it, the Spurs did it one year when they just missed the playoffs. They got the number one pick and took Tim Duncan with like a 1 point whatever percent chance. Well, now the first 4 picks are determined by the lottery. So everybody's in the lottery, and the top 3 worst records each get like a 14% chance at the number one pick. But after the top 4 are drawn, picks 5 through 14 are just slotted based off of your record, and it didn't used to be that way. And even at like number 5, you can still get a Kingston Flemings or somebody that's going to be a really dynamic pro. But Tankathon, it's here, man. You're right.
It is.
Where's Giannis going to end up?
Beats me. No idea. Despite Oklahoma State's win over BYU, Joe Lunardi in the latest bracketology still has Oklahoma State as out of the tournament field in his latest bracketology. By the way, cheers to all these Modelo full-time fans. Modelo full-time fan rules. Rule number 13. You can explain the bracket scenarios unprompted and with alarming confidence. So if we get to the end of it and you know exactly all of the bracket scenarios, cheers to you full-time fans. Joe Lunardi currently, latest bracketology, 7 Big 12 bids, James. Houston is a 2 with UConn in the South Regional. So I think that's probably the most notable. That'd be a great draw, I think, for a 2-seeded Houston to get the South Regional, which, as we discussed, is in Houston. Arizona is the 1 in the West, which at this point is the number 1 overall seed. That's where Lunardi has him for bracketology. He also has Iowa State as a 2 in the Midwest with Michigan, which I think would be fantastic. Both Midwest teams playing in Chicago, potentially. He has Oklahoma State as last 4 out, TCU and Baylor next 4 out, and 9 lost Texas. Texas, who lost to Arizona State and has 9 losses, is one of the last 4 in right now in Joey brackets.
Yeah, right now Texas is 38th in the net ranking, 3-6 in quad 1. So with the Big 12, UCF has separated itself from that middle tier as a team that's going to be in the field and would really have to collapse the rest of the season not to get in. I think the cap for the Big 12 is...
And by collapse, that's like a quad 2, quad 3 loss.
Multiple, because that's another thing Joe Lunardi talked about earlier this week on this ESPN conference call, was that even these teams at the top can suffer a couple of losses and not move the needle that much. And I think we see that on the flip side this deep into the season. Like you said, even with Oklahoma State's massive win over BYU, they went from being the next 4 of the next 4 out to the first 4 out. So they moved up like 7 or 8 spots, but it wasn't quite enough to get them in. The point I'm trying to make is these teams in the middle, a TCU, a Baylor, who is still top 50 in KenPom and net. Oklahoma State climbs up to, in the net rankings, they're number 61, but they're still behind even TCU, who's number 53 because they've had some signature wins. And the KenPom's right around that same window. So like Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. It's a 4-man race to get hopefully 1 bid. And to get that 1 bid, there's going to have to be some separation between those 4 teams. If they just cannibalize each other, then I think the Big 12 is going to be stuck at 7.
Yeah, well said. Now, West Virginia didn't punch their ticket last night, but I think a loss to Cincinnati might have sabotaged their opportunity. So, like, West Virginia's been very steady Eddie, right? They've won the games they've needed to. They've snuck in a few impressive wins like Kansas. So they just got to keep doing what they're doing, and there's a good chance they'll be in the field. But, you know, nice road win at Cincinnati. Any road win you get in the Big 12 is impressive. You know, again, didn't win their way into the tournament last night, but didn't lose their way out of the tournament last night.
Yeah, that's well said. And that win was a quad 1 win for West Virginia because it was a true road game, and Cincinnati's in the top 80, or I guess they're 79th in the net. So actually it should have been a quad 2 win for West Virginia.
That's what I was thinking.
Either way, you know, it didn't really move the needle much. They're 65th in the net rankings. In KenPom, they are currently 62nd after that win last night. So at 15-8, like on paper, they look okay, but they're hurt by their non-conference schedule, which right now ranks 358th in the country. That's what the selection committee's going to be looking at when they look at West Virginia. So my point with them is they need 1 or 2 more really high-quality wins. They've got one against Kansas, but they may need 1 or 2 others to put them on the right side of the bubble.
All right, plenty more to come on West Virginia's win against Cincinnati last night and how Wes Miller is really losing it at this point in time, and in some ways you feel for him. Plus, the softball season is underway. Baseball is about to get started, and people are big mad at Texas Tech softball. We'll get into that coming up. On the way next, though, we'll talk with Mark Daniels, the play-by-play voice of UCF, about the UCF Knights basketball team and just how they've turned it around this season to put themselves in position to be an NCAA tournament team. That's next with James. I'm Ari. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
He found right there. And Celestine just rips it away from Eaglestaff. Now Jizzle James will try a three. That one slips in.
And they need him to do things like what we just saw.
Set up the three-pointer for James, who has it again. Jizzle James, perfect from the floor to start this game. 3 for Miller. This time working against Jasper Floyd. Good cross-court pass, and Jizzle James just cannot miss. He started this game 4 for 4. He's got 10 points. Transition opportunity now for the Mountaineers. Huff, great feed inside, and another assist from Honor Huff. This time he finds Brennan Lorient.
And when you make shots, your defense automatically grows.
Huff. Oh my, Honor Huff drew the contact on the fly. This here in the second half. Adjusted tempo rankings that King was talking about, and another and one opportunity for Honor Huff. Cincinnati, 1-point lead. Jasper Floyd, they left a man open in the corner. It's DJ Thomas to give West Virginia the lead once again.
It could be a 2 or a 3, but you got to go quick.
Oh, Jizzle James, he lost it. Just like the end of the first matchup between these two teams. And it leads to a Lorient transition dunk. 59-54, West Virginia. As Celestine misses the three. And the Mountaineers complete the season sweep of the Bearcats, and it's their largest comeback for a win since 2022.
Big 12 Radio presented by Modelo. Along with James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. Great to have you with us today and every day here at your home for the Big 12. We're excited to be joined right now by Mark Daniels, the play-by-play voice for UCF. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. We've talked a lot about UCF basketball this year because of the turnaround. And, for me, and curious for kind of your overall thoughts, just Johnny's going into the portal to add experience, I think, has proven to be so tremendous for this team this year. Just adding a guy like Fulks who has that experience, feels like, as opposed to younger players, like this is a group that knows how to win and has been through the ringer a little bit.
Yeah, today in college basketball, it's interesting, and this is a completely new roster. There's nobody back from last year's team with the exception of 2 walk-ons. So, you hope you get the right mix of guys, and then they got to gel together. I think they had a little bit of a game plan as far as the type of players they wanted to identify that fits into the system that Johnny wants. Have some experience. You got a mix of guys that were playing high-level basketball that maybe needed a new place to play in an expanded role. Some guys that had worked their way up to the portal that now were ready to take that next step. And you cross your fingers and you hope that it works. And I think for UCF, they got off to a good start and then on conference schedule, had a couple of really nice wins. Winning at Texas A&M was big. Yeah. Beat a Pitt team that at the time you didn't know, what they were going to be. And then took on some really good mid-majors where I think they got tested a bit. And then the question is, were you ready to go into the Big 12? So now I think you're beginning to see, the work they put together, the reward right now. A lot of basketball left in the best basketball league in the country. But the Houston game the other night got away from them. But I think this team has played above clearly what people thought and have some opportunities to continue to position themselves where, if they don't win the conference tournament, hopefully they got a resume to get to the NCAA tournament.
Mark, how would you describe UCF stylistically?
Well, Johnny Dawkins has always been a defensive first guy. Even though they're averaging better than 80 points a game, their offense is going to be better when they play, good defense. If they're playing lockdown defense, one and done on a shot, outlet pass, then they're going to get teams that aren't in a defensive set. And I think that's what Johnny ideally wants. This team, though, is a little bit different than some of his other teams, is that they don't need 1 or 2 guys that have to handle the bulk of the scoring. They need a whole bunch of people to help, and I think that's made them tough to defend. But it's still about defense for Johnny. The defense beginning of the season was slow to come around. It's gotten better. It can be better, but their defense is what's going to carry them. It's always been a staple for Johnny. The other thing, though, and Johnny clearly knows point guards, is he had to find the right point guard. He did with Demas Fulks, who is a change of what they had in Darius Johnson, a 4-year starter. They finished up last year, but Demas has been a calming influence. I think he's much better than people thought he was going to be, and he's made defenses have to adjust because of his ability. He doesn't need the 3. He's comfortable averaging better than 7 assists a game, but he also can shoot inside the paint. He's comfortable with the 10-foot mid-range jump shot. And I think Demas has been the real key to kind of let other guys develop their game in the course of the season.
You've been there for 31 years. How has the fan base embraced this basketball team, especially now in the Big 12? I mean, how have you seen the growth of this program and the excitement with the fans?
Yeah, look, I think, if you're honest, particularly for most Southern schools, it's football first, spring football second, and football recruiting third. And then you get to basketball. But I think as every sport at UCF has benefited by the move to the Big 12, I think basketball's been the biggest from a standpoint of fan interest. UCF's had success in football in recent years, so filling the bounce house wasn't a problem. I think for basketball, and it's no disrespect, I thought the American was a great league for UCF the time that they were there. But when you step into the Big 12, you were going to face great competition. Fan base is very passionate about basketball. It was going to almost force you to elevate your program to match that, to be competitive, and then, get the rewards of it. I think what's happened for UCF, they've had some nice wins in the 2+ years, 2.5 years they've been in the Big 12, which has brought the casual fan. The great thing is, even though, I think we all know you can play at Kansas, they're going to have their fans that are going to travel BYU. But now, most of that UCF crowd, which is basically sold out every game, is made up of UCF fans. And the most recent big game against Texas Tech, I think there may have been a couple of hundred Red Raider fans, but otherwise the rest of that 9,000, that's UCF fans. It's an easier ticket to sell. People recognize the opponent, one of their history, too. Most of them are ranked at times. So that part has been great for UCF. The expectation now has grown, and that's a good thing. I mean, you want to have high expectations in basketball. The fan base has been thirsting for that, and they've been rewarded with good basketball this year, and they've done their part to come out to Addition Financial Arena. It's been a great home environment. I think even Big 12 coaches have talked about it as UCF's evolving in this Big 12, that when you come to Orlando, it's a tough place to play.
Mark Daniels is the radio play-by-play for the UCF Knights. He joins us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. UCF has won 3 of their last 4 games. And, Mark, they have really separated themselves from kind of that middle tier in the Big 12 in the fact that they have 2 wins, not just 1 but 2, over the upper echelon, Texas Tech and Kansas. And now, like, I look at their schedule, they have at BYU left, but outside of that, they don't play any of those top 6 teams in the conference standings. So what is their ceiling, and how high potentially could UCF get when it comes to a Selection Sunday seed line?
Yeah, I think the beginning of the season, and UCF was picked 14th. You kind of look at the scheduling and there are no easy games, and there are no easy games left for UCF with 10 to go. But as the year began to play itself out, you're right, as far as those upper schools, there's not many left in the schedule. But there's a number of teams that are within a game or 2 in the loss column of UCF that makes those massive basketball games, because you can go from 5th to 10th pretty quick in this league. I think if before the season you said to anybody in the conference, if you win 10 games of the 18, do you feel like you got a good chance to make the NCAA tournament? History shows that if you're above 500 in this conference, in league play, get a really good shot to get in. Now, I think West Virginia was 10-10 last year, got left out. They got caught in that net mix there. Every game you want to go out to compete to win. UCF sits at 6-4 today. They got 4 games at home, 4 games on the road. Can you hold court at home? If you hold court at home, then they're at 10 conference wins. Can you get at least 1 on the road? That might be 11. If you lose 1 at home, can you pick it up? So, you want to win every game. I think, if you're UCF, and you get to 10 conference wins, I think you'd feel really good about yourself, because then you got 21 wins the regular season, maybe get another one of the conference tournament. If they're 9-9, maybe, but then it gets a little cloudy. So there's opportunities out there, but no easy ones. We go to a desperate Cincinnati team coming up on Sunday, come home for a couple of games. Among those games, it looks to be an improving Baylor team. So there are no easy games, but I do think if they can get to 10 conference wins, I think it'd be hard for the committee to keep them out just because of how good the league is.
Yeah, well said. Mark Daniels, play-by-play voice of UCF, is joining us. Real quick, football question for me. I really like what they've done in the portal. They've added a lot of experience. I think there's, some programs that want to take the former 5 stars or 4 stars from the big schools that maybe haven't played as much and seen the field as much. It feels like what Scott Frost did in the portal was add a lot of guys that produced and were on the field for smaller schools, and I really like that approach.
Well, look, last year when Scott was hired, the portal is literally opening, and by the time he got done with his opening press conference, there were 3 players and agents outside his office asking about their deals for the next season.
Wow.
And by the time he got to looking at the portal and figuring out who to get, if you're honest, 1st, 2nd, 3rd tier guys were gone. This year, Scott had a chance with his staff to figure out, who do we want from the football team this past year? Where can we target? And now let's go after that. So they've had a complete portal process to go out and identify players. And look, for UCF, where we're at when it comes to rev share and the dollars involved, it's still evolving for us. We're not going to have as much money as some of the other schools, even within the league. But I think what Scott was excited about is, give me the full offseason. Let's identify players that we want. Alonzo Barnett, the quarterback of James Madison, I think is a huge addition for them. Yeah. A 2-year starter at quarterback. We haven't had a healthy quarterback, guys, in better than 5 seasons.
Right.
Play the entire year. You go back to Dylan Gabriel at UCF. The entire Gus Malzahn run, nobody was healthy. Scott didn't have a healthy quarterback last year. But I think they've identified guys that they believe fit into their system. It's an evolving process, but I think they're in a better place, no question, than they were a year ago with a full off season to work with. So I think UCF will trend upwards in 2026. And I think Scott feels good about where the program's at right now with the resources, with the players that they brought in, and a better mindset of feeling like, okay, we can breathe now because we're working on a timeline that makes sense for them. So I think they're going to be, like I said, trending in the right direction in 26.
Yeah. Great to hear from you. Mark Daniels, voice of UCF. Appreciate your time, Mark. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Mark Daniels joining us here on Big 12 Radio, along with James Westling. I'm Ari Temkin. Great to hear from Mark and his thoughts on what's been a very surprisingly good basketball season for Johnny Dawkins and UCF. As we discussed, they are now kind of firmly in NCAA tournament space. And, relative to the rest of the Big 12, have a fairly easy schedule the rest of the way. Could have some trip-up spots that, might sabotage it. But for now, they seem to be in, especially according to Joey Brackets. All right, with James, I'm Ari. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. Coming up next, we will recap what we saw last night and what it means, plus talk big picture. Also, we've got the Super Bowl on Sunday, so let's talk Big 12 in the Super Bowl. That's next. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting five.
Fulks hesitation and the spin. What a finish by Themis Fulks. Good recovery by the Sun Devils.
I thought maybe we should have a lot of contact on that finish.
Fulks gets to the 10 and lays it in. Yeah, maybe just a subtle push from behind there. Chance to make it a one-possession game. Fulks spins, elevates, and gets a friendly bounce.
That's what they do so well.
Ken Palm has Texas Tech as the number 8 offense in terms of efficiency, but right now they're 1 for 4 three-point shooters. Just one of the many talents of number 4 in red. But Fulks with a blow-by, he's got 4. He's now 10 points shy of 1,000 in his career. Chris Johnson out to Fulks, high off the glass, and Themis Fulks.
Houston game, but they need his scoring, especially in a game like this.
UCF with the ball and a 4-point lead. Now make it a 6-point lead.
If you're just keeping the rock and going coast to coast.
Fulks turns the corner with the left hand. Fulks takes it himself from the left side. Graham McCaslin says, I have 100% trust in him. He makes all the right plays all the time. But Fulks has an answer himself. This game has really slowed down offensively. What a drive from Themis Fulks.
A really cool story for one Super Bowl participant out of the Big 12. Along with James Westling, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. You can always find out where to get us for Big 12 Studios. Big12studios.com, whether that's Tubi, Roku, Amazon Prime Video, plenty of other YouTube, plenty of other platforms. Did I say YouTube twice?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
We're everywhere.
Also, Big 12 Conference Wrestling is back at the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The 2026 Big 12 Wrestling Championship, presented by Allstate, returns Friday, March 6th and Saturday, March 7th in the heart of downtown Tulsa. The best wrestlers in the country battle for individual titles and a Big 12 championship and seeding in the NCAA championships. Tickets and premium hospitality are available now at bokcenter.com/events. And you know it's the Big 12. You know premium hospitality means ultimate premium. Big 12 Wrestling at the BOK Center in Tulsa, March 6th and 7th. We'll get into hoops, recap last night's big win for West Virginia, and take a look at big picture stories for the weekend in hoops. But the Super Bowl is Sunday. Excited? You got big plans?
Big plans? No, never have big plans.
No?
At any point in my life. But I'm excited to see what happens because there's been like this power dynamic at the top of the NFL for the last 4 or 5 years with the Chiefs and their rise and the Eagles. It wasn't a surprise to see what they did getting to the Super Bowl. And I think this year, just having new blood. And
it's funny because in some ways it's new blood, in some ways it's not.
Right.
Like these two teams met in a Super Bowl 10 years ago.
Exactly. But the between that last appearance and now, there were some really hard times for both franchises.
Yeah.
A rotation of quarterbacks, and the offenses struggled, and now the defenses are so good, and Sam Darnold's an incredible story. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, so there's a host of former Big 12 players in this game, but let's start with Connor O'Toole. Connor O'Toole from Utah was an undrafted free agent for the Seattle Seahawks out of Utah last season, a season in which he had only played in 8 games. He was limited due to injury. But O'Toole played 1 year in the Big 12 for Utah in 2024, had 5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, but again, only played in those 8 games due to injury. So he was a UDFA in April, and somehow, some way, he finds himself on an active roster in the Super Bowl. He logged 125 snaps during the regular season, 97 of those on special teams. In the postseason, the outside linebackers played 41 special team snaps, basically all of the special team snaps throughout the season and in the postseason. So he's become a major contributor as a rookie, an undrafted free agent. And the crazy part about it is his first 2 years at Utah, he was a 3-star wide receiver out of high school in New Mexico. His first 2 years at Utah, first year was COVID, didn't see the field at all in a truncated season. And then his second year as a wide receiver, didn't see the field at all in 2021. So Kyle Whittingham, Morgan Scalley were like, hey, maybe you should switch over to the defensive side. He does, and despite having a couple of injury-plagued seasons, he was a very productive defensive end, so much so that he becomes a UDFA, gets to Seattle, and now here he is in the Super Bowl.
Dude, that's awesome. And when you think about Big 12 players and guys that have appeared in Super Bowls, it's easy to highlight Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and, those type of guys. Brock Purdy for the 49ers, former Iowa State quarterback. But then those are the stories that are really cool, like former KU linebacker Ben Heaney being on a roster, and Emmanuel Ogbah, the defensive end from Oklahoma State, was on a roster. Pac-Man Jones, as long as he played in the NFL, finally made a Super Bowl as a backup for the Rams towards the tail end of his career. Andy Dalton's been on a Super Bowl roster as a backup. Aqib Talib, Tyler Lockett, Darren Sproles. Like, you go in the weeds, and there are a lot of guys that were really good collegiate players in the Big 12, and then in the NFL, maybe weren't necessarily superstars, but still found a path to play in the big game, which is awesome for those schools, because like it does mean something and add another layer to the fandom.
Yeah, well said. Other Big 12 players. Well, so Marcus Jones is a premier corner for the Patriots. He played at Houston, did not play in the Big 12. Other Patriots, Tonga, former BYU star, Kyrus Tonga, who did not play in the Big 12. But then you have Ramondre Stevenson, the running back for the Patriots, that played in the Big 12. Obviously at Oklahoma, is no longer in the Big 12. And then Brendan Schooler, same thing, played at Texas, no longer in the Big 12. So former Big 12 members that played in the Big 12.
Is Stevenson the lead back for the Patriots?
It's kind of both. I mean, it's mostly been Henderson, but in the last round of the playoffs, Stevenson had a huge game for the Patriots.
Because he was really good a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he was like the only bright spot on a really bad Patriots offense.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Just a couple of seasons ago, they were like the worst offense in the NFL.
It's crazy.
So it's been a big turnaround.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, for Seattle, in terms of NFL or Super Bowl participants, Josh Jones, Houston. We mentioned not a Big 12 player, but obviously played at Houston. Connor O'Toole, we mentioned, played 1 year in the Big 12, and in his rookie season is playing in the Super Bowl as an undrafted free agent. An amazing story. Brady Russell, another guy that played at Colorado, did not play in the Big 12. And then there's 2 guys that played at Texas for Seattle that played in the Big 12 but are not currently participants in the Big 12. Michael Dixon, the punter from Texas, who played in the Big 12, and then Byron Murphy, the defensive end for Texas, that played in the Big 12 as well. So only one guy in the Super Bowl that actually played in the Big 12 and is playing and played for a team that's still in the Big 12.
Right. Did you say Marcus Jones, the cornerback from Houston?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the best, probably the best player out of all of them. I mean, he's a.
But you're right. He was
captain.
drafted in 22, so right before Houston
Yep.
entered the Big 12 conference.
Yep. All right, that's a look at some of the Big 12 players participating in Sunday's Super Bowl. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Last night, West Virginia gets a nice win over Cincinnati. Look, road wins are road wins, period. And we said it earlier, but West Virginia certainly didn't punch its ticket to the NCAA tournament last night, but they didn't lose it. When you get to Selection Sunday and you've got a loss potentially like at Cincinnati, with wherever Cincinnati ends up, that would not bode well. Feels like West Virginia hasn't won their way in yet, but they haven't lost their way out of the field. Mm-hmm. And this was a really impressive win because they were down.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati was up 12-0 to start this game, built a 13-point lead. Cincinnati was plus 10 at half, and then West Virginia went plus 15 in the second half. So the game flipped in the second half in one stretch when West Virginia ripped off a 14-0 run, fueled by who else? Honor Huff. Who scored 11 straight during the surge. And then DJ Thomas hit 2 massive threes, one with 1:30 left to push West Virginia in front 53-49 and force Cincinnati to kind of late clock offense down multiple possessions.
Yeah, West Virginia is one of those teams that the way they play and because of how they defend, they're very well coached. They're never out of a game. They shot 0 for 9 from beyond the arc in the first half, but they stuck with it. And Hunter Huff, who did not score in the first half, had all 16 of his points after the break. He hit a dagger 3 late in the game. West Virginia went on a 14-2 run early in the second half that what was a double-digit deficit turned into a 42-40 lead. And then you mentioned DJ Thomas. He hit a couple of threes with about 90 seconds to go that was huge for the Mountaineers. And I think you said it spot on. This was maybe an elimination game for West Virginia had they lost. This is a game that if you're going to be a tournament team, you have to win. And any win on the road in the Big 12 is huge for your tournament resume. So this was big for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, here's what West Virginia coach Ross Hodge said on the play of the game that really propelled them.
The play of the game, in my opinion, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was a chaotic stretch. Maybe we were tied or maybe down 1 or up 1. It was like super chaotic. I think maybe we turned it over, they turned it over. They missed an open transition 3, and Trace and Eaglestaff had a deep corner 3 that really hit like the front of the rim and bounced almost to half court, and it looked like it was kind of a jailbreak play where they had like a 4-on-1, and Trayson sprinted back and Amir sprinted back and got a deflection, and then that turned into a layup on the other end for him, and thought that was just a monster play. So feel extremely fortunate to get a road win, and anytime you can win on the road in the Big 12, again, you take it how it comes. So we'll take this one and get ready for the next one.
So nice win for West Virginia. On the other side, with Cincinnati, I mean, it's not been a good year for Cincinnati basketball and a highly anticipated year for Wes Miller. And, Wes has had a lot of back and forth with some of the Cincinnati fans, and that included last night as well. Here, take a listen to this exchange they had with some Cincinnati fans following this loss.
You guys deserve to be frustrated. It ain't okay. I understand the responsibility of this job. These results ain't okay.
Thank you.
You guys deserve to be frustrated. But I'm a human too. and nobody's more frustrated than I am. So trust me, I care deeply about Cincinnati.
I'd say that's completely fair, right? I mean, you got a lot of fans that have probably said a lot of ugly things to Wes Miller, and I mean, he said you deserve to be upset, you deserve to be frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm a person, so hard not to sympathize with Wes Miller. But obviously, this feels like the last year for Wes at Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I don't feel bad for Wes Miller because his buyout, if he's fired before April 1st, is $9.9 million. If he's fired after April 1st, it's $4.9 million.
So either way,
Wes Miller is getting a bag.
On April 2nd.
On April 2nd. He's made an average of like $2.7 million per year. I understand that his tenure is not gone how Cincinnati fans had hoped, how he had certainly hoped or anticipated, but they've been really close. And his tenure reminds me so much of way back in the day, early 2000s, Jim Woolridge at Kansas State, where they were so close to turning the corner and had so many close losses. It also reminds me a little bit of Mike Boynton at Oklahoma State, who could get Oklahoma State to the tournament every once in a while and into the NIT, and he did it with gritty defense, but they always lacked that offensive production in terms of shooting the basketball, like Wes Miller's Cincinnati teams, who can defend with the best of the bunch, but they struggle to score.
Yeah, they can't score.
And they're in every game. It goes right down to the wire. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. But Wes Miller's young enough that he's going to be fine. Like Mike Boynton is the top assistant at Michigan right now and is a name that is circulating among what could be some pretty big jobs, maybe even Cincinnati this offseason. He's going to be a coach again because he did more with less at Oklahoma State. I think the frustration with Wes Miller is that he's had some really good recruiting classes. He's had top 25 classes back-to-back years, and it still hasn't translated directly into the caliber of wins that Cincinnati fans expect.
Yeah, I mean, they just have not been good enough on offense. Full stop. That's it. They just have not been good enough on offense. All right, looking ahead to this weekend of hoops, Saturday and Sunday. Biggest games of the weekend, in my opinion, Texas Tech, West Virginia. West Virginia hosting Texas Tech here, and so an opportunity for West Virginia to really get a marquee win with a Texas Tech team that is struggling a little bit. That is a Sunday matchup. And then Houston, BYU, the obvious headliner of the weekend, Saturday night in Provo. I also think the Oklahoma State-Arizona game could be maybe sneaky a little bit because of a trap game appeal here with Arizona heading for Big Monday to Kansas. But it is at Arizona. It's in Tucson, so maybe that, maybe that takes some of the shine off. I don't really expect Arizona to lose, but, I mean, just a kind of a look-ahead situation here for Arizona with the game on Monday. But what do you think? What's the biggest games of the weekend?
Well, I do think, Arizona, on paper, yes, this is a potential trap spot because Oklahoma State is feeling really good about themselves. They just picked up their first road win in Big 12 play in 2 seasons a week ago at Utah, and then they had that huge win against BYU, so they're oozing with confidence. With that said, matchup-wise, this is a nightmare for Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Because they're small, they're finesse, they want to run and gun, and Arizona can do both. They can pound you on the boards, and they can run with Oklahoma State. This could be a track meet. The team that wins this game probably goes over the century mark, but I don't know that Oklahoma State has the horses on the glass to compete with Arizona. The other game that I'm looking at, and Houston and BYU is obviously massive because it's a huge road opportunity for Houston to pick up a quad one win. BYU is reeling. They have really struggled defensively and been exposed on the defensive end. And so BYU looks to right that ship against a team that's maybe the most fundamentally sound in America. But the other game that intrigues me is Baylor at Iowa State. Baylor is one on the road win away from being an NCAA tournament team. Like their Ken Pom and their net ranking is still in the top 50. They've played a billion quad one games, and they've picked up some wins in there. So if they somehow stole this one at Iowa State and got to 4-7 in Big 12 play, that'd put them at 14-9 overall. They would have quad one wins on their resume. Let's see, they are currently 3-6 in quad one. So they'd have 4 quad one wins, including a road win against a top 10 team. Like there's going to be an upset somewhere someplace in the Big 12. That game really intrigues me to see what type of effort we get from Baylor and to see if they can steal what would be a massive win.
Yeah, no, great point. I mean, Baylor.
Like, they played Iowa State close in Waco. I mean, these teams already played in Waco. Both teams shot a season low from the floor. It was a gross game. It was like the second game in the Big 12 slate. So they're familiar with one another, but like Baylor didn't look completely overmatched in that game.
Yeah, and look, Baylor, I think we talked about the teams that right now are in for the Big 12 and the teams that are out. You know, you got Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. In a little bit, we'll take a look at kind of their paths, but you're right on Baylor. It's a great call. What you said, 4 quad 1 wins?
They have 3. This would be number 4, but they've played 9 games in quad 1. And they have some wins that are currently quad 2 that could easily slide over to quad 1. Like, they've got a couple of quad 2 wins. They're 2-3 in quad 2. They actually don't have a bad loss on their resume. They don't have a quad 3 or a quad 4 loss like some of these other teams that are kind of on the bubble with them when it comes to the net rankings and the KenPom. Like, they're doing offensively, they're a top 30 team. Defensively is where they've struggled, right? They're 93rd in defensive efficiency rating. But they have a top 20 schedule, 16th in the country. They're 295th in the luck rating, which tells you that they're playing much better than their record would indicate. And Scott Drew teams get better as the season progresses. Like, depth this year isn't the issue. It's just been that they've had off nights. They just can't put all the pieces together. But they at least have the bodies this year, where last year, remember, that was Edgecombe and
Rob Wright
and the big fella in the middle, and then they literally had no bench. They were playing 5 guys, and that was it. This year, they at least have the depth. It's just, can they connect?
Speaking of the Oklahoma State-Arizona game, here's what Tommy Lloyd said about Steve Lutz.
We've been on the court as a group and, kind of building to get better. And, we're excited to get out Saturday and play against, obviously, an Oklahoma State team that's playing well. I think they're much improved from last year. Coach Lutz is, kind of won. He's found a way everywhere he's been. And last year was kind of a rebuild there. And, this year he's continued to build. And, obviously, when I was watching that game against BYU last night, they looked pretty good to me.
Yeah, I mean, impressive stuff for Oklahoma State and Steve Lutz in year 2. I want to get your thoughts on some recent comments made as K-State plays again this weekend. Who does K-State have?
TCU.
K-State, TCU, the Battle of Purple.
It's at TCU. This is a must-win for the Horned Frogs to keep their tournament resume hopes alive.
Yeah, so let's hear clip 7 here. Here's from a few days ago, James, AD Gene Taylor talking about the frustration of K-State right now.
It's hard to see, to be honest with you, because I know, how hard those coaches are working to try to figure it out and how hard those players are. And obviously they're facing some challenges with some injuries and stuff, but no, I get it. And, I can promise there's nobody more frustrated with what's going on than the folks in the basketball facility right now.
And then he continued putting confidence in the coach to get it fixed.
I just let them know that we're here and that we understand that it's not easy, and we understand the fans' frustration, and we get it. But they just need to know that if they need to vent or talk, that's what we're here for. But I'm not a basketball coach, and they're with them every day, and I trust that they'll try to find a way to get them back on the right track.
I mean, how much time can an Elite Eight run buy Jerome Tang? This is year 4. There's been regression when it comes to wins and losses year over year. It's been 4 completely different rosters. But Kansas State is in a predicament financially because they just invested a ton of money into football. They put together a top 30 recruiting class. They bring in a new flashy head coach in Colin Klein. They just overhauled the entire staff. His assistants are making good money. Jerome Tang's buyout, if he was fired before April 1st, is $18.7 million. If he's fired after April 1st, it's $15.7 million.
Meaning what?
Meaning I don't think K-State can afford to let him go.
So does Gene Taylor have confidence that Jerome Tang can get it fixed, or does it kind of not matter?
I think it kind of not matters. Now, Gene Taylor believes in his guys, and sure, he thinks that this thing can get turned around, and maybe it can. I mean, Kansas State's best players year over year have been the guys that have stuck with the program. David Gasson was arguably K-State's best player last year. He was the lone returner. K-State's most improved and maybe their best all-around player is their lone returner on this team, David Castillo, who played 8 or 9 minutes a game last year as a freshman. Now he's their second leading scorer. So can Jerome Tang retain some of this talent for next season? Maybe Kansas State can get back on track.
Yeah. All right, that's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. BYU Houston. Do you see a path for BYU to get this win? Obviously, it's at home, which helps a lot. Provo's a tough place to play. It's a late-night game. Do you see a path here? Especially for a BYU team that's been struggling.
Yeah, a path would be that BYU figures it out defensively, because offensively they have the pieces to compete with anybody. Offense is not the problem. A.J. DeBonsa can score at will. Rob Wright has been fantastic. Richie Saunders had a huge game against Houston last year. But can BYU handle that pressure, and can BYU get stops? It's going to be the rowdiest environment we've seen in Provo all season because they're backed into a corner. If BYU loses this game, all of a sudden they're 5-5. I'm concerned that that BYU's depth or lack thereof is becoming a factor.
Yeah.
Because they look tired to me. Now, I know they've made these late game pushes, but those games have been out of reach. They were down by 20 against Kansas. Texas Tech owned BYU the last 8 minutes of that loss for the Cougars. And then same thing with Oklahoma State. Like, that game flipped in the second half. So I'm worried about this matchup. I think it's a really tough matchup for BYU, much tougher than the Oklahoma State matchup was on paper earlier in the week.
BYU are they on a losing streak right now?
Yeah.
3 straight.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. This has been a tough stretch for them. They've also lost 4 of 5. The only win they have is the Utah win. But when you think about, they gave up 84 points to Texas Tech, 86 to Arizona, 90 to Kansas, 99 to Oklahoma State. We just talked about Cincinnati, Wes Miller. They just haven't figured out offense. Baylor defensively continues to struggle. Like, you look at those 3 specific instances, and what's been issues continue to be issues. Different rosters, different personnel, same issues. BYU has struggled defensively for now multiple years under Kevin Young. Scott Drew's defenses have struggled under Baylor now multiple years. Mm-hmm. Same as what Wes Miller's Cincinnati offenses, and for this season, it's the reason that Wes Miller's going to lose his job.
Right, and stylistically, these are polar opposites with Houston and BYU. You've got a very new age, analytics-driven program in BYU, and then you have old school toughness. We don't care what the metrics say at Houston. And over the years, it has worked out when these teams go head-to-head for the Houston Cougars. They beat BYU by 20 in Kansas City last year in the Big 12 tournament. They beat BYU by 31 last season in Houston. And then in 2024, the last time they played 2 years ago in Provo, also a Houston win by 7. So Houston has had their number. And this Houston team is no different than those Houston teams. And so, I'm not convinced that BYU has the horses to hang with that Houston pressure defense, dominate the glass, and then Kingston Fleming's. It has been enough offensively for Houston to do what they do.
That's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. We'll get into Kelvin Sampson's comments about being poor and then walking them back a little bit last night. Coming up on the way next, though, let's talk with the former BYU center, Eric Mika. He joins us next with James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, on TuneIn, and Big 12 Studios. Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Chipped away. Cada goes down to the floor. Loose ball. Krivas push up ahead. Burries throws it down.
Terrific play by the big fella. The foul in the last play, but watch the effort by Bradley first, and then Krivas saves it and kicks it ahead. And Burries last year's because they had the comfort of knowing his kid was going to be good.
DeBonsa loses the handle. Karchenkov comes up with it. Kick ahead. Burries puts it in.
They rebound every 2.1 minutes. Think about that.
And Burries knocks one down. And he off to a fast start with 9. Remember, north of 18,000 here tonight at Marriott Center. Burries tries to answer and does.
Wow. We talked about it at the top. No question, Odin's been their best player, but without a doubt, Jop has the highest ceiling and continues to show tremendous improvement. Oh, how about that backdoor cut?
Embarrassment of riches and a level of depth with Tommy Lloyd's team to bring Awaka and Del Larso off the bench. Incredible.
They put a lot of pressure on the referees to make a call.
Aaron pass by Odom. Burries ahead of the field, lays it up and in. Elite finisher with everything else he's got in his toolbox.
How long? It's about the time and score. And right now it's a one-possession game, so that gives you an opportunity to let him stay a little longer.
Burries spots up in a thing of beauty. Mayusin unable to hit. Here comes Burries. Burries. They're going to get a defensive interference count the basket for Burries.
Big 12 Radio, it's Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We are presented by Modelo. Cheers to all the Modelo full-time fans. Modelo full-time fan rules. Rule number 91, you never truly log off during the season. Rule number 92, off-season optimism is mandatory, James. And remember, the football season never sleeps here on Big 12 Radio. We're talking football all off-season long because there's plenty to get to.
It's what we do. Dude, I'm so hyped for football season. And I say that as we prepare to watch Super Bowl Sunday. But this off-season transfer portal tracker series that we've been doing, we'll have our big NFL draft preview with just Big 12 players all over the board. And then I'm super pumped to dive into. Are we starting next week? We will be looking at each position group when it comes to college football teams in the Big 12.
Monday. Yep.
going over some of the key newcomers at each position. So we went through the portal stuff, each school, but now we're going to look at it collectively, like who are the best quarterbacks coming into the league? Who are the best offensive linemen coming into the league? Who are the linebackers coming into the league that you need to know about? So that when you watch your favorite team or any Big 12 game on Saturdays this fall, you know who these guys are and their backstory and what makes them so great as additions to this league.
Yeah, well said. By the way, I'm rocking my K-High Ketchikan High School King Salmon shirt today. Shout out to Ketchikan. Had an amazing experience fishing with a science teacher at Ketchikan High School, so I love to rock the Ketchikan King Salmon because of the sick logo, but also because it's one of the most beautiful places on earth.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, anything better than a salmon wearing a crown?
No.
Yeah, no.
There's not.
By the way, when you catch king salmon, amazingly, the crown falls off.
It looks like one of those made-up NCAA team builder programs that somebody put on the internet. That
somebody needs to be the king salmon. Like, I need an NCAA tournament team to be the king salmon.
Should we make alternate nicknames, mascots for Big 12 schools? I think we could really lean into that.
Okay. No.
I mean,
who would be the king salmon?
A lot of potential.
Who'd be the king salmon?
I mean, it'd have to be Colorado. I'm sure there's a lot of fishing in the mountains and those
that's fair,
streams.
Maybe. Yeah, definitely.
Like, I think of Field and Stream magazine. I think Colorado, BYU, Utah.
When I think salmon, first thing I think of is Colorado. Best salmon.
Totally. Best salmon money can buy.
We caught about 50 pounds of salmon, had it shipped back, and had it frozen, sealed.
50 pounds of salmon.
So we went in August.
So that's how you got so shredded this offseason.
I mean, come on. You know that. I'm basically a bear. I've basically been eating like a bear.
Yeah.
I just pull the salmon out of the water and just start peeling and eating.
Mm-hmm.
But so basically at the end of August, we had it shipped. It was got here September, whatever, give or take a few days. We have one fillet left. We've been saving it. Saving it for a rainy day.
So how long did it last? How many months?
Say September, October, November, December. Let's say 5 months.
That's a haul.
Yeah.
So
and we ate a lot of salmon.
You've had 50 pounds of salmon in 5 months. It's a lot of salmon. Again, that's why you're so ripped.
All right, let's talk with Eric Mika, the former BYU center here on Big 12 Radio, along with James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. Eric, how are you? Thanks for joining us. We got him? Maybe not.
Mike Probs. We'll get him.
He wasn't even looking at us.
I think he's texting our producer, Taman.
Yeah.
We'll have him.
All right.
We'll have him.
We'll have to figure out how to get Eric with us as we talk BYU Houston. And we just mentioned in the last segment, BYU's lost 4 of their last 5, including 3 in a row. And, this could be life in the Big 12.
See, this is what you get on live radio. This is what you don't get when you're listening to podcasts. You don't get raw, unfiltered moments like this where we throw it to a guest and he's on his phone, has no idea he's on camera.
And he had a great setup.
That's not Eric's fault. It looked fantastic. It's just sometimes technology gets in the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. Well said. By the way, while I have a moment, Big 12 Championship Gymnastics returns to the Maverick Center in West Valley City, Utah. Tickets for the 2026 Big 12 Gymnastics Championship presented by Allstate are now on sale. The action starts on Saturday, March 21st, featuring 2 thrilling sessions for the right to claim the Big 12 champion title. The afternoon session starts at 1 Central, noon Mountain, with teams ranked 5th through 7th. Then at 6 Central, 5 Mountain, the top 4 Big 12 teams take the floor under the lights. Don't miss your chance to witness championship moments. Get your tickets now at maverickcenter.com and be a part of Big 12 Gymnastics in West Valley City. All right, do we have Eric?
All right. While we get Eric, I love that Taman's giving us like the Dikembe Mutombo. No. We're not quite ready. How many Big 12 teams will win this weekend on the road? And while you think about that and look at the slate, let me remind you that if your team wins on the road in this league, it's a big deal. Home teams in Big 12 play are 47-27. That is the highest in-conference home winning percentage of any league in America. Big 12 home teams are 39-11 when facing a conference opponent outside of the AP Top 25, which is basically everybody outside of the top 6 in this conference. So teams at home are winning in the Big 12, especially against schools that aren't those giants at the top of the conference.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I guess the one I would say would be BYU of all of them. I mean, you're talking about home teams here. Baylor at Iowa State, Kansas State at TCU.
You don't think there's going to be a big upset somewhere?
Utah, Kansas. Oklahoma State, Arizona. Arizona State, Colorado. Houston, BYU, maybe. All right, Eric Mika. Eric, you there?
I am. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Eric? How are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry, I couldn't hear you there for a bit while we got it all figured out.
Rocking the really cool Cougars hat with the Patriots sweatshirt, huh?
Yes, this is what I was originally loyal to. I grew up in Concord, Mass. So I used to cry when the Patriots lost games. So I feel like I shelved that fandom for a long time and just totally bandwagoning this weekend, and that's how we roll, baby.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been a rough go for Patriots. Yeah, I got to say. I mean, tough stretch here.
Yeah, it's great for bandwagon fans, though. You just check out for a while.
All right, let's talk BYU Cougars basketball. Look, I mean, I think in some ways Kevin Young's been amazing, and I'm a huge fan of him, and I think he's so smart and such a dynamic coach. But how do they fix their defense, Eric?
Yeah, man, I've been thinking about this a lot. Not even defense specific. There's just so many little things. Because originally I'm like, oh, it's defense. We're not communicating, and we're not on the same page. And I do feel that there's not the intensity that we need to have to win these bigger games, right? Maybe Oklahoma State isn't the biggest game, but to win these games that we're losing. But man, even like turnovers, right? Just like 16 turnovers to 12 assists. Like, is that defense? Is that offense? It's a bit of both, right? Like we're just not on the same page. So that leads to easy buckets for Oklahoma State, and that just kind of gets you thinking too much about your offense, and that gets you feeling like your defense sucks. And I don't know. There's a lot of little things. I feel like. I texted this in a group message. I feel like I get 100 texts after these losses, like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I don't know, right? I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know all the answers. I don't know all the things that they're working on. I feel like you just said it. KY is smart and capable, so he knows all these things. It's not like they're going, "Oh man, we gotta shoot more threes," like, and that's his dissection of these losses recently, right? He knows exactly why they're losing, but I feel like our issues are, and I don't know the order yet, but for sure one of them is our depth that comes from the injuries right at the beginning of the year, right? Like the guys that went down, killer, right? Like that really, really hurt us because we were expecting not only production but also just stability from guys that have experience, right? And that's really hurt us. Like, we were kind of cruising because we were relying on these guys, and then you just get in the thick of a conference season, no matter what conference you're in, and especially a buzzsaw of a conference in the Big 12, and it's like you have to have more options, right? And we don't, so that's been really hard. I think the defense has been killer. And then I just think that our offense, like, we need a floor general that can just go out there and get us settled, right? Like Rob Wright might be one of the most elite scorers that I've ever seen, but he's expected with this lineup to score a lot. He's needed to score a lot, right? And so I think it's just a hard balance. But yeah, I don't know the order, but since you asked about defense, and defense is in those three things, I would say that we got to come out with more defensive intensity. We got to show up with a lot of energy on that side of the ball. I've thrown it out there. Like, I was against kind of switching up the starting lineup for a long time, but I'm actually open to it now if it just means we get a jump on defense.
Who would you switch in that starting lineup?
Yeah, I think maybe bring in Hadim Boop for Moo Davis. One, it gives you a little bit more size, and I just feel like Boop has for sure earned some minutes. Just because every time he hits the floor, he plays so hard. Um, and I was against it for a long time because I just feel like Davis he's in a slump, right? He's a shooter, but he needs to just keep shooting it. And I was saying this, and then he had 17 a couple games back, and it felt like, okay, he's back. He's playing that 3-and-D role like we needed him to. But even then, it's less of the scoring production and more of just we need that spark on defense because that has become the priority. I'm shelving it's going to hurt potentially his confidence trying to get out of a slump, and we've had this dynamic for so long. Like none of that matters. Now you're at a point where you've lost 4 out of 5, and defense is just totally totally lost. You gotta bring somebody in that's just gonna bring intensity and literally doesn't care about scoring. He just wants to get on the floor, get his hands dirty, guard guys 1 through 5. And so I think it's worth looking at. And if it doesn't work, you go right back to what you were doing, but what you were doing wasn't working. So I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, no, I like that move. I really like Boop off the bench. He's a major energy guy. So
yeah.
Circling back to what you said defensively, is it more effort in your opinion, or Kevin Young had comments about opponents' players are shooting the ball at a much higher clip against BYU than they are anybody else. And it just makes me wonder, is that because BYU's not guarding those guys as closely because of their percentages going into the matchup, or is it something else? What would you pinpoint?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know what our game plan was against Texas Tech. But right off the bat, Anderson hit 2 threes and he hit a bunch in the game, but all of them were off the pick and roll, and we had a big that was sagging off, and then we were chasing him over the top, and he was able to just get wide open threes, So I do wonder a little bit what our game plan is like, but like I said, because I'm not in there, I can't speak to that 100%. That could have just been miscommunications the whole time, and we weren't executing a game plan. But I do feel like everything, great game plans don't matter if we aren't playing, our balls off. You know what I mean? The guys aren't flying around like I feel like we've seen them do in some games, right? Like in games that we've dominated, in halves against really good teams that we've come back and almost won. The Texas Tech one, I think I tweeted right at the beginning of the game, this is the best we've looked defensively. And we did. We were talking, we were flying around, we were playing hard, despite what I just said, which was, I don't know if we had the best game plan or if there was miscommunications or something, but we looked really, really good until the last 9 minutes. And so it's just, I don't think it's, again, I'm just a huge fan of KY. Maybe I've got some blue goggles, but I don't feel like there's a game plan issue. I think it's guys, they've just got to step up their level of intensity.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Also a huge fan of KY, so don't think it's on preparation or planning as well. Eric, did you play for a season at BYU and then go on your mission?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. How do you, can anybody do that, or is it just some just decide to do it before they start playing?
Well, you couldn't. You got
right. Correct. I didn't.
You got to be a member. You got to jump in. No, I'm just kidding. Back then it was a little bit more normal for people to do a year of school, just in general, athletics aside, to do a year of school and then go and then come back. And so that's what I had an older brother that did that, and it's a lot more normal now if you're going to do a mission to just go right out of high school, right? Because there's a huge advantage to having 4 straight years, and so it was a little bit different, but less common now. But yeah, I did 1 year, went out for 2, and then came back and played again, which is super tough to do, but worked out.
Yeah, I mean, your numbers, you went from 11.8 your freshman year to 20.3 your senior year. You had 1.9 blocks per game after just averaging under a block game your freshman year, and then 9 rebounds a game your senior year after 6. So seems like it was the right move. You dramatically improved your numbers.
Yeah, go get the grown man strength, come back, and you're technically a sophomore. It's beautiful.
What are you doing now, Eric?
I'm actually working in NIL and rev share. So my old teammate, if you guys remember TJ Hawes, I played with both the Hawes brothers my freshman year with Tyler, and then when I came back with TJ, grew up with the whole fam. And TJ and I run this business. We've got a platform that helps schools raise dollars for their players through everyday spend of their fans. So it's a startup. We've been going for about 2 years, actually building this thing the last year, and we're gonna roll out here in the next 6 weeks with 5 schools that we're super excited about.
Wait, so can you expand on that a little bit? So basically, like, you go and spend some money somewhere, and they can roll some of the dollars over into NIL.
Yeah. So essentially, we've got this huge network of online stores. Thousands and thousands of merchants, and then we've got basically those same stores in our app as well, just as kind of like a click link offering is what they're called. And then it's also amplified by local offerings. So that's why we're tapping in with these schools, because they have all these established networks and ecosystems that are official and unofficial partners, dining and retailers essentially, that sometimes it's with your actual physical credit card in person, sometimes it's online, but a lot of your spend, 99% of people spend has a commission tied to the back end of it, and you don't even realize it, right? Like, affiliate networking is everywhere and a level deeper than people ever realize. So we're essentially tapping into those commissions, we're forwarding them to the school, and then you're getting points as a fan that you can then go redeem on unique experiences that you normally never get a chance at doing.
That's amazing. Love that.
Think Delta Sky Miles for college fandom.
Yeah.
That's what we've built.
And think about the incentive you now have as a fan to, spend more
100%.
and get those points. That's amazing. What's the company called?
It's called Home Crowd.
Home Crowd.
You can check it. Our website is gethomecrowd.com. Like I said, we've been pretty head down the last year, but in the next 6 weeks we'll have some press releases with these schools, which we're really excited about.
That's amazing. Really cool concept. Love it. Thanks for your time, Eric. Be well, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Eric.
Hope we chat soon.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Definitely. Eric Mika, former BYU center, joining us here. GetHomeCrowd.com. Interesting stuff there. Really great concept. All right, with James Westling, I'm Ari Tepkid. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. Coming up next, Kelvin Sampson crying poor and then walk back his comments. What does it all mean? We'll get into that next. This is Big 12 Today with James. I'm Ari. It's Big 12 Radio on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
From Provo, John Chomby in front for Schiller. Saunders, catch and shoot. He's got it. Saunders flips it in.
40% from 3 on his career, but where Kevin Young has really helped him the last 2 years is developing more of an overall.
Favored the most growing up, we said Steph Curry. Saunders gets some space and hits. Saunders here. Saunders wandering against Karchenkov. Left hand is good.
Toughness.
We will bounce back.
There you go.
Saunders shoots.
There you go.
Hits.
Yep. This is going to shoot it. Watch how Saunders comes right back around. Catch and shoot. Well done.
Nowhere to go for Dibonsa. Good help there by Badunga. Saunders up and in with the left.
Play by Melvin Council Jr. And what a great shot fake by Bryson Tiller.
Saunders slams it in with the left.
But what a fantastic shooting touch Bryson Tiller has. He is going to be a great player.
And Saunders with a chance for a 4-point play. The lead was once 21. This 3 has it down to 15. Saunders again. Got another one. 27. He's going to play in the NBA. Here's Saunders. Another one. His 6th 3 of the game, and now a career high 33 points.
This is Big 12 Radio. Along with James Wesley, I'm Ari Tepkin. Cheers to you, Modelo full-time fans. Thanks for checking us out today and every day here on your home for the Big 12. Along with James Westling on social at James Westling. I am Ari Tepkin on social at Ari Sports. The Big 12 game of the week. Right here on TuneIn. Houston, BYU. Late tomorrow night, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern Time. 8:30 Mountain Time. Houston, BYU is the game of the week on TuneIn. If you've not yet already, make sure to download the TuneIn app and search Big 12. That way you can find us easily each and every time you open up the app. And on tomorrow night, you can get BYU and Houston basketball.
Hey, speaking of BYU, you know who they're really missing this year? And our last guest said they're missing somebody that can settle the team at the point. Like Rob Wright is a score-first point guard. His assist numbers are through the roof, but he plays like a bull in a china shop all the time.
Dallin Hall?
Dallin Hall.
Yeah, good call.
Dallin Hall, who led the Big 12 and the nation in assists 2 years ago. Last year came off the bench, still had over 100 assists. And this year at Virginia, he's that same type of player. Comes off the bench, scores about 6 or 7 a game, shoots it well from 3, but his assist to turnover ratio is astronomical. It's like almost 7-1. The guy never turns the ball over, and that was his role at BYU. And I don't know what happened there. I thought it was weird that he entered the portal after he spent, 3 seasons at BYU. Now he was recruited by Mark Pope. Maybe he just didn't fit Kevin Young's system because he didn't play the same allotment of minutes under Young that he did Pope last year to the year before. But him leaving, I think they're missing him. Like he would be a perfect fit for what they need right now.
Where is he?
He's at Virginia, and Virginia's a top 20 team.
Yeah,
under
also.
Ryan Odom, they've had a great year.
Calvin Sampson had some interesting comments, and I think this really gives a perfect example of what every college, every athletic department is dealing with at this point in time, and that is how to appropriate your money, how to appropriate the funds. So here is what Kelvin Sampson said a few days ago. This is clip 1, Taman.
Outside the program, you can think what you want. You don't know unless you're inside the program. But I never thought Mercy would leave. But I'm around him every day, so I have an advantage. And I recruit him and I coach him. But it was a big deal that he came back. It was a big deal for Chase, that Chase came back. Ramon came back. Sid came back. Jacob came back. All our guys come back. And that helps us. Now we participate in the NIL just like everybody else. We know what our kids' market value is. I mean, trust me, they're not starving here. They're getting exactly what the market is for them. But we have a very poor athletic department. We're poor. We're poor when I got here, and we're still poor. We probably have the lowest budget of anybody in Power 4, and the way our recruiting is going, we have to stop at some point because we don't have enough money to keep bringing in really good players. And that's not easy for us to do. People ask about recruiting. Teams that have the best recruiting classes usually have the most money. That's the way it is today. Like we know, we signed Akena and Erfan early. A lot of these kids we have will come back, but who knows what else we'll sign? Because how much money we have. It's not about who do we want to sign, it's who can we afford to sign. And even though we've been doing this NIL thing, it still feels funny for me to even say that. It's like a culture shock that's coming out of my mouth. Because for so many years it's illegal to do that. But it's legal now. That's why they call it NIL. Now it's legal.
Classic. Kelvin, I mean, basically, I think a heavy dose of reality there. And I don't think that for you and I, James, is much of a surprise. I mean, maybe it's a surprise to say we're probably at the bottom of the Power 4. I don't know if I'll take Kelvin Sampson's word for it, right? I wouldn't have assumed they were, but certainly, I would think they're bottom 3rd of the Power 4. But because his comments of we're poor athletic department kind of created a firestorm, he walked them back yesterday. Here, take a listen to what he said.
Kellen and I spend a lot of time. I worked on NIL this week. I have to. Because we want to continue to win. But you've got to keep working at it. But I shouldn't have said we're poor. We're not poor. We're anything but poor. We got a great athletic department. But the NIL thing, though, that's not a bottomless pit. You got to continue to work at that. And the schools that's been in the Big 12 the longest, they have an advantage. But that's nothing to do with anything we've done wrong. It has everything to do with how many years they've been at full media share. We've been in an American Athletic Conference. That's the only reason why they're ahead of us.
Yeah, and he softened his language the second time around because Houston basketball is not poor when you think about the definition of poor. What he should have said is we are poor in comparison to other Power 4 programs.
Which, by the way, he did say, but
it was too late.
And the headlines, I mean, they take and run with it.
Right.
We played a 2-minute clip, and that's clearly like saying we're poor as a headline there. But he did explain like it's more about relative to the Power 4.
Right. I mean, the true definition of poor, Houston basketball players are not. Like, they're not starving. They have a roof over their head, right? And I think that's what kind of woke him up when he walked it back a little bit. But the thing that continues to blow my mind with Houston basketball is how they live in such a sealed environment. There's no outside influence. There's no NIL jealousy.
Yeah.
There's no booster chatter. There's no tension. I mean, you watch that team practice. They're laughing. They're having fun. And they're working their tails off each and every day. And it's remarkable because these players, they're not talking about what they don't have. We were going through the college football recruiting stuff yesterday, and there's players out there requesting all types of things, rent for a family member, vehicle
Field passes
stipend,
for their agents.
field passes for their agents. Like, it's ridiculous. And these Houston basketball players, they have such a team-first identity that none of that stuff matters. But now he's pairing it with finding those type of kids that want to win a national championship and then get to the NBA, which I now think is a huge part of his recruiting pitch.
Yes.
That maybe he didn't have a decade ago. He is churning out NBA players year over year on a consistent basis. And this year he's going to have a top 5 lottery pick and probably 2 lottery picks in Flemings and Sinak, which is going to set them up even better in terms of that we can get you to the NBA. We're all basketball. We'll get you the next big deal at the next level. He can further lean into that in the type of kid that he recruits.
Well, and I mean, he also confirmed basically that he is, and his son Kellen, as part of their salaries, is donating to the NIL for Houston. So I don't know that that's something we knew publicly, but he just said that. Mm-hmm. On the other side, we talked about Willie Fritz yesterday, his comments about if we could just be at the middle of the pack in the Big 12 in NIL, we'd be in good shape. Here's what Willie Fritz said, clip 2, on getting money for his staff and for RevShare.
It's in the works right now. It's not totally done at all, but it's in the works.
You feel like you're getting what you want?
Yeah, it just, one of the probably good things about me is I've been at Blinn Junior College in Central Missouri, and Sam used to, I've been at some places, and you got to be realistic too. But in this day and age, and if you want to compete, for a national championship, the FBS level. You got to make sure, hey, I'm very fortunate I retained all my coaches except one. And that sometimes doesn't happen, especially when you have success. They're working their tails off.
Look, and Fritz is in a much different position at Houston than Sampson is. Sampson can pretty much do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants because he's been so successful. He's such a great coach. And not to say that Fritz isn't, but he hasn't proven it yet at Houston. Not at the level of Sampson. But I think this is in many ways the arithmetic that most athletic departments are dealing with, and specific to the Big 12, right? I mean, they're not as flush with cash as the Big 10 or the SEC is. That's obvious. And it's really about these athletic departments making the most out of their money, which I think a lot of athletic departments across the Big 12 have done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk about basketball and football a ton, but remember, it's not just basketball and football.
Right.
I mean, the baseball season starting. At some point, we'll talk baseball, softball. Like the ante has been raised. Think about how big of a deal SEC baseball is, and how much that drives the market for retaining and keeping players. There's a lot of money that the SEC can spend on baseball because SEC baseball is a huge deal. So that means the cost of doing business for baseball teams in the Big 12 is significantly higher. So I mean, this is just the reality for every athletic department. In where are you placing your bets? Where are you putting your money? You have a finite amount of money. And look, in the Big 12, there's obviously a discrepancy. Where Houston is, in terms of their donor base, is a lot different than where Texas Tech is.
Very much so. And Houston men's basketball probably isn't middle of the pack in the Big 12 and NIL. So for Willie Fritz to say if we can get to middle of the pack in the Big 12, we can compete for a national championship, I believe it. And if they can do that, I would say that Willie Fritz is 65 years old, but the trajectory everywhere he's been And now with the NIL piece, if they can get it to a point where he can get most of the kids that he wants, I do believe Houston in the next 4 years will be in the college football playoff and compete for a national championship. He went 23-4 his last 2 seasons at Tulane. His Tulane team is the only Group of 5 school to knock off a power conference opponent in a New Year's Day bowl. They won the 23 Cotton Bowl over USC, finished in the top 10. He's the only one who's done it. So that already shows me that he's capable of it. You look at the recruiting class that they're bringing in, and the thing about Houston men's basketball, and I think Houston football is kind of in this same camp, no broken promises. Like, you know what you're going to get. You're going to have to work really hard. You might not make as much money, but you can win, and you can do it in a top 5 market, and you can have that brand exposure if you do your job at Houston. And just his blueprint everywhere has been, I'm a believer. Now, I'm not saying this year they're going to win the Big 12 or be in the top 2 because I like Texas Tech and BYU and what they bring back, but they had a top 4 finish in this league last year. They won 10 games, and everybody's just glossed over it because of their schedule. They went undefeated on the road this past year in his second season after a 4-win campaign. Like, I just think the trajectory of Houston football is much higher than people see.
Well, and the cost of doing business in football is much higher than basketball.
Exactly.
And that's based on, the attention, the acclaim, but also just based on sheer roster size.
Yep, and that's why he needs top half. Kelvin Sampson says, I don't need top half, but I need something, because he needs to go find 5 really good players.
Well, but the truth of the matter is the fact that he got Sinak and Flemings to go there shows, despite not being, at the top of the Big 12,
then you can do it.
That's 2 big-time recruits. And he said it there in his comments that we played. Like, you're not going to be recruiting at the highest level unless you've got big-time NIL. Now, he may swing and miss some years, but he's also going to get it up with Sinak and Flemings in some years.
Mm-hmm. And for Houston football to have the number 1 quarterback in the country, a 5-star kid, who is committed and will be on the field, he is signed, Keyshawn Henderson, will be playing for Houston this fall, is massive.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells me that he is capable of getting that local homegrown talent in Houston to stay in Houston, even without the dollars. But he needs to be top half because he's got 105 mouths to feed, whereas Kelvin Sampson only has 5 or 6, really. So it can be done.
Yeah. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio. All right, people are big mad about Texas Tech softball. We'll get into that. Plus, the not-so-early NBA draft preview, Big 12 edition. 11 first-round draft picks out of the Big 12?
Crazy.
That's next. With James Amari, it's Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
Avoid transition opportunities tonight for Kansas State. There's Tiller going to work on the spin. He'll lay it up and smooth.
This kid's got so much talent there.
They're an outstanding defensive team. Top 15 in the country in three-point defense, which shuts off one of Kansas State's water supplies. As that,
he can block the shot over the top, as we saw in that last possession.
He's 6'10", 235. That's a big guy doing that. That's a lob, and a stuff for Tiller from Council.
He's getting into a shot, and when you can do that, it raises.
Here, in my judgment, against Iowa State, when he dove for that loose ball near midcourt, Kansas got a 3 out of it. Big-time play.
Tiller with a 3, and the lead grows for Kansas.
Great strength in addition to quickness.
Council
Good pass.
Council to Tiller. Count it. And Kansas is 7 for 9 from three-point range.
They're hoping the second half starts soon.
Tiller feeling it. Hitting it.
Usually went right in the middle of that little Brady Bunch thing.
McDowell, nice no-look pass, and Tiller knows what to do with it.
Little stick in this basketball game. You know, Tiller, a freshman.
Stevanza is on the bench right now for BYU. This is Jaden Dawson. His first appearance of the game, a senior from Omaha. Tiller again! At the offensive end.
All
game long. Bryson Tiller, who's been great, just checked back into the game for Kansas. He's got 3 fouls. He's got another 2 points. Give him 21.
Along with James Wesley, I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. Cheers to you, full-time fans. The Big 12 preseason baseball poll has been released. TCU, the number 1 team in the preseason of the Big 12, followed by Arizona, who received 1 first-place vote. West Virginia 3rd, Arizona State 4th. Oklahoma State and Kansas tied 5th. K-State 7th. Cincinnati 8th. Tech 9. UCF 10. Baylor 11. Houston 12. BYU 13. Utah 14, James. Baseball gets underway here as the spring seasons begin and the winter seasons start to wind down. But a highly anticipated season certainly at the top for TCU and Arizona, and even Kansas, team that made the tournament last year after a surprise season. And their head coach, Dan Fitzgerald, I would imagine will be highly sought after this season if it goes successfully for Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, this looks about right. I'm excited to see what West Virginia does. They were kind of the dark horse sleeper last year in the Big 12, and then to see Oklahoma State tied for 5th just blows my mind because they've been so good consistently. Right. And the last 2 years, they've really been bothered by injuries. So if they're healthy, what does that look like for them? But it's here, man. Baseball's here. Kansas State's all fired up. Cincinnati had a really good year last year, and Texas Tech is loaded up in the portal. So it's going to be a fun season that starts next Friday.
Yeah, well, Texas Tech is certainly loaded up in the portal on the softball side of things, which got underway. Texas Tech, the preseason favorite to win the Big 12, and after playing for the national championship last year in a one-game decider against Texas that they lost, they're ready for blood this year. And it has a lot of the softball world up in a tizzy, man. So Caitlin Terry, they added the pitcher and outfielder from UCLA, two-time 20-game winner, 20-5 record. Also started 33 games in right field. Taylor Pinnell, infielder from Tennessee, who hit nearly 416 home runs and 65 RBI last year, led Tennessee in multiple offensive category. Jasmine Burns from Ohio State was first-team All-American last year, a 455 batting average. Mia Williams was an All-SEC contributor for Florida. So, I mean, they have, and that's just to name a few. I mean, they've added Jackie List, Desiree Spearman, Alana Johnson. They have loaded up, and that's, of course, to go along with Nigeri Kennedy. But, I mean, there's been a lot written already. We had on Across the Conference presented by Allstate, a show you can catch with myself at Sydney Staples on Big 12 Studios, where we talk about all things Big 12 Olympic sports. We had Kat Osterman on, the legendary Texas softball alum, who's, a gold medalist and silver medalist. But, I mean, she basically said, like, we've never seen this before in softball. Like, it's a lot of money. She seemed a little bit upset about it. She seemed big mad about it. There's a lot of people that are big mad about this, James.
So jealous of Sid that she gets to hang out with you outside of this show and do another show on top of this
I love
show.
that that's your takeaway.
So jealous of her. I mean, Texas Tech looked really good in their opener, won 13-3 over McNeese State. Jasmine Burns is probably, the pitcher, the transfer from UCLA, right, that came over that you noted. But Burns was kind of like the big bat, the first to sign with Texas Tech. And they had a glaring hole in their lineup with that catcher position last year that was evident in the College World Series. So for them to add her, when I first saw that they had signed the All-American who cranked like over 20 home runs, I thought, okay, they mean business this offseason, and that's it. It's amazing that this program has gone from Cinderella story to now national championship favorite in softball, and it's like national championship or bust. I mean, Nigeri Kennedy has been very outspoken about why she came back and the other opportunities that would have been out there for her, and she came back to win a national championship. She has unfinished business. And remember, Jerry Glasgow told us that she had a hamstring injury and wasn't throwing for like 3 or 4 weeks in season during the week in practice. So she was not 100%, and she was still so dominant. That is the new expectation at Texas Tech, is that like last year wasn't just a one-off. They're going to be right back in the national picture.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any question about that. They got their season started with a win over McNeese State. All right, we talked earlier in the show about how the NBA Tankathon is on, and 8 teams sinking to the bottom. A 9th entered the chat with the Bulls, basically trading all of their viable players for all of the second-round picks over the next, 5-6 years. And then maybe the Milwaukee Bucks do the same thing if they shut down Giannis or whatever. So potentially 10 teams sinking quickly to the bottom, 9 definitely, 10 potentially. And in the latest mock drafts, and there's a bunch of them for the June NBA draft, James, they're citing 11 Big 12 players in the first round, including obviously Darren Peterson, number 1 overall, A.J. DeBanton, number 2 overall, Kingston Flemings, 5th overall, Koa Pete, 11th overall, Cam Carr from Baylor, 15th overall, Memphis drafting Joshua Jefferson, 16th overall. Braden Burry's 21st. Tunde Yesufu, 22nd. That's 2 Baylor players going in the top 25. Christian Anderson, 23rd. JT Toppin, 24th. And then Milan Momcilovic, 29th overall. That's 11 Big 12 players in the first round. By the way, Milan Momcilovic may be having the greatest shooting season in the history of the sport.
And he's 6'9".
29th overall seems like a value pick.
Yeah. If you want a big that you can just put in the corner in the NBA and have him drill threes, he's your guy. Get ready for the Darren Peterson, Michael Jordan Wizards comps, because right now...
Well, I'm getting ready for the Darren Peterson Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan comps.
Bulls. I mean, Peterson has to wear 45 if he plays for the Bulls or the
22.
Wizards.
1 less than Jordan.
22. I like it.
What he's wearing now? 1 less than Jordan?
Man, wouldn't that be a thing? I'm here for that because that's what he looks like. That's who he looks like.
I don't know what you're talking about, by the way, Wizards and Jordan. I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Right. That didn't happen.
No, of course not.
Happen.
Definitely.
A.J. DeBonce is going to be a star wherever he ends up. Flemings is going to be a star. But I do get really intrigued by the prospects. AD's wearing number 23 for the Wizards. I get really intrigued by the prospects like mid-first round. Cameron Carr at Baylor, whose stock is skyrocketing because he has shown his ability to shoot the basketball. Cameron Carr is only listed at 6'5", but he has a wingspan of 7'9", and a standing reach of 8'10". The standing reach
that doesn't even sound real.
The standing reach is real. It's in the Baylor game notes. The wingspan I may have been a little
8'10".
8'10".
So, I mean, he's pretty close to the rim standing.
Yes.
That's what that tells me.
Yes.
Not a mathematician.
Last I checked, the basket, the rim is still 10 feet. So he's pretty close, about 14 inches away. He's also got like a 40-plus inch vertical. He's a freak, an absolute freak. And his dad played his dad spent 6 years in the NBA, won the NBA dunk contest. The hops are there, okay? And now that he's shooting the basketball at a higher clip, NBA teams are falling in love with him. He could be a late lottery pick. And then the other Baylor pro is Tunde Yesufu, who's just been a little bit inconsistent, but when you watch him, he's a 6'8" wing player. He's built like a tank. He looks like he could start for an NBA team right now. Again, he's just been inconsistent shooting the basketball. But at the NBA, when you're working with shooting coaches each and every day, that's the one thing pros are like, can he shoot? Doesn't matter. We'll fix him, right, at the next level. So he's got a ton of potential. A lot of teams love Joshua Jefferson from Iowa State, who's a walking triple-double because he can handle the ball. He thrives in space because he's 6'9", 250 pounds, and has the mind and the vision of a point guard. So there's just a lot of really intriguing prospects.
Yeah, and just to continue on Milan Momcilovic, dude is shooting 54% from three. He's shooting 55% from the floor and 89% from the free throw line. I mean, he is having a historically great shooting season. 54% from three on 7 attempts per game.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, I know at one point he was closer to 60, so it's gone down a little bit, but like, if he is anywhere north of 50 by the end of the season, that'll be a ridiculous season.
And he's had some games. The only thing that concerns me about him and Iowa State in the postseason is he has had off nights. He had an off night against Texas Tech. Against Baylor on the road. He's had a couple of nights where he'll go 0 for or he'll go 1 for 5, so he's a little bit streaky. All right, Cameron Carr, it's a 7'2" wingspan with an 8'10" standing reach.
Ridiculous.
I found the note. His dad, Chris Carr, was the 1997 dunk contest runner-up. He didn't win it. He was the runner-up. Remember who won it in 97? NBA dunk contest?
Vince Carter?
Great guess. Kobe. Just casual Kobe.
Back
His
when,
dad
like,
was runner-up to Kobe.
Star players used to participate in it?
Right. So a 7'2" wingspan, 8'10" standing reach. And then the Texas Tech guys. You know, JT Toppin is an interesting prospect. He came back to college. I think he's improved his stock mildly, or at least hasn't hurt his stock. He's going to go down as one of the best players to ever play the college game. Does it translate to the NBA? Well, he's projected as a late first-round pick. And Tom Crean, his son, is an NBA scout. And they tell me that he is going to be a fantastic pro. And they think whoever gets him is going to get a steal because of his wingspan, his uptick in his perimeter shooting, his court vision. He's arguably the best passer at the 4 in the country. And then he's an elite screener. Like, he does little things that don't show up in the box score. Oh, and by the way, he's still like the nation's #1 double-double guy in the country. So he does it in both ways.
By the way, you can look at multiple mock drafts. Christian Ojakjian, ODJ Hoops on Twitter. He does great work. He's got Peterson 1, Dabansa 3. He's actually got Boozer 2, but Fleming 6, Sinak 7, Koapete 9. So he's got, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the first 10 picks. Christian Anderson 13. He's also got Braden Burries 19, Cameron Carr 21, Richie Saunders 23, Joshua Jefferson 27, and Emmanuel Sharp 28. So you can look at 5 different mock drafts and see a bunch of, different Big 12 players going in the first round. So whether it's 11, whether it's 10, whether it's 12, whether it's this guy or that guy, it remains to be seen. But that's a really interesting look at at Big 12 in the NBA draft. All right, on the way next, we've got Norm Roberts coming up. On the way next, though, there's a lot going on in college football, including see if you can stay with me on moving week 1 to week 0, what that even means or looks like, and then a lot going on with Joey Aguilar and the NCAA being sued. Just we'll try to get you caught up on the latest everything going on with that. With James Amari, it's Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting 5.
35% from three-point range for the bulk of this season.
And Tad Boyle said he's the X factor. When Ronsing plays well, Colorado typically plays well.
Oh, that's a nice little maneuver. Looks for help and gets it. Another one from downtown. Lipsy. Some freebies, and they're going to need to make them. But I don't know if it's...
Both him and Johnson, 6 feet, but incredibly efficient scorers.
There's a beautiful move. 47-27, Cyclones by 20. At this stage, if you could just get it to maybe 14 by the break. Well, that was a discard. Trying to induce the foul with the flop. It's another team that can play really tough and show some added depth in the league. One of those teams that we saw in the Crown last year that, of course, Nebraska won. And they carried that same streak right into the Big Ten season. I see more Final Four potential within the depth of the Big 12 conference. So many outstanding teams. Colorado went to sleep on that inbounds.
Here's Lipsy, stop and pop in transition, buries the 3.
But a score, he's creative with his finishes. Either hand, either foot.
Well, the way Iowa State's defending him in the half court, he's probably saying, forget about that. I don't want any half court offense. Give me buckets in transition. Lipsy goes right at Castillo and banks it in.
He's so physical.
It's Big 12 Radio. Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Along with James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. On social, at James Westling. You can always get at me at Ari Sports on Instagram and X. Big 12 Radio Podcasts. Follow along with us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn On Demand. Great to be with you today and every day here in your home for the Big 12. All right, so I saw this tweet from Chris Vanini from The Athletic. The idea of starting the college football season in quote-unquote week 0 is gaining traction, says Georgia's AD, who co-chairs the NCAA committee on the calendar. Let's just have a philosophical discussion first about what week 0 means, okay?
I know you're a big week 0 guy. Huge week 0 guy.
I'm a practical thinker, and so, like, just off the bat.
First, we have to change and eliminate week 0 and call it week 1, or your head's going to explode.
Can you really start a football season week 0?
It is confusing because you get to like week 7 or week 8, and you're like, how many weeks into the season are we? How are we on week 8, but my team's played 9 games? It makes no sense. Make it make sense, Taman.
Words have meaning. They have to. Otherwise, there's complete chaos. So 0 is the lack of number. Yes? We're all on the same page here? 0. So it just like, don't call it anything, right? Just call it the start. Whatever. Previously, I guess I'm fine. I guess I've been fine with it. There's a level of semantics here that you just have to go with, but my brain can't process the idea of week 1 moving to week 0.
Mm-hmm. The official definition of 0 is no quantity or number, not the figure O.
Thank you for describing the.
You're welcome.
If I have 1 and I add 0 to it, how many do I have?
Still
Like
have 1.
Basic math here.
That's it.
It's the lack of numbers. So again, just trying to make sense of the notion of week 1 moving to week 0. Does that mean moving the season up? Is that what that means? Or does week 0 then become week -1?
No. I think number one, I'm with you. We need to eliminate the terminology week 0 and start week 1. Whatever that date is, let's call it week 1. College football is considering, finally, there's a little bit of traction, and it seems like there's been enough outrage now that coaches and athletic directors and conference commissioners are starting to kind of push forward on, all right, there's an issue, now let's work, however long it takes, remains to be seen, on resolving it. I mean, the season is just continues to get pushed later and later. The national championship game is scheduled for the last week in January over the next 2 years. Like, we think this year was bad, next year is going to be worse, and the year after even worse than that. So college football coaches are now finally, it seems like, based off of what Vaniti notes here, in agreement that moving the season up could fix some of these issues. It still gives teams enough buys. 12 games in 14 weeks versus 12 games in 15 weeks like we had this past year. The college football regular season is simply getting too long. Now there's concerns about the heat in the South, which, sure, it's going to be hot. It's hot now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really think it moves the needle that much by moving the season up 1 week. That feels like an excuse to me for some of these programs that don't want to do it. But it is a step in the right direction, at least that we're talking about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. But here's my question. Is there still then a week 0?
No, everybody. So the thought is, whatever we call it,
week 1 is what we call it.
Week 1. Because right now, week 0, you have to get a waiver, essentially special permission to play a game week 0. It's reviewed by the NCAA. Not everybody can just all willy-nilly be scheduling games for week 0. The college football season is supposed to start week 1. Now, everybody would be starting the same week. So these way early games that are primetime spotlight games that feature some really intriguing matchups, some matchups that aren't really competitive and are just overhyped, like Kansas-Fresno State, no offense, last year. Those would essentially go away, is the way I understand it. Everybody would be starting on the same week like they do in what sport? What league?
The National Football League?
The NFL.
That one, yeah.
That's it.
You mean they don't have a week 0 in the NFL?
It's called the preseason. the the preseason.
I maintain if we had a week 0, call it week and a half. Week and a half. It's not quite week 1. Like, it's not. Just it's week and a half.
Even the week 0 games are starting earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even playing football the last weekend in August anymore. Some of these games are like August 18th. You've got teams playing.
Right, week 0 this year was August 23rd.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think we can get this done. I think it would help. But when is my big question. I mean, with television partners and with competitive fairness and television inventory, like who ultimately, at least in the past, has won? It's been TV inventory. So I'm sure that ESPN and Fox and the other networks love week 0 because they draw a huge number and it's like an add-on to everything else in the season once all these games are playing at the same time.
Just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say competitive balance?
Fairness.
Fairness, yeah.
Fairness?
That's adorable.
Did you say the F word?
Did you say
fairness?
Competitive balance, competitive fairness? Yeah, of course. Big 12 radio, Big 12 today. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. You may have also seen some headlines about the Tennessee quarterback Joey Aguilar, who was part of the Diego Pavia lawsuit, now has removed himself from that to put his own restraining order together. So kind of to get you caught up on what's happening from a NCAA eligibility standpoint. That was the word I was looking for. Thanks, James. Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, was looking for another year of eligibility. Joey Aguilar, another one. Yeah, the NCAA's denied them, but they're taking matters into their own hands. And then on top of that, you have Greg Sankey actually filing. He didn't file a suit, but he sent an affidavit basically to the courts that are ruling on the Charles Bediako case. So I think he sees what's happening. He can see around the bend. These are a bunch of SEC schools with a bunch of SEC players that are all involved in trying to sue the NCAA for eligibility. And they're all, so Sankey's trying to get ahead of this. So he sent out a letter to the courts to basically say, like, hey, these are SEC players. We're trying to abide by NCAA rules. Can you not? Can you not do that? So some really interesting legalese playing out behind the scenes here, James. And, Aguilar is basically at the front of the classroom right now in terms of trying to get this restraining order in place so he can play next season. And in that, the next part of this will be February 13th with the preliminary injunction hearing date. And if that February 13th hearing date, if the restraining order is sort of upheld, that would allow him to get through spring and season prep. So February 13th is a huge date because if they continue down the road of this restraining order to continue to figure this thing out from a court standpoint, and it looks like from a precedent standpoint that might be the case, then there's a good chance that Aguilar will get to play next season.
You know how old he's going to be this June?
22?
25.
25.
Joey Aguilar will be 25 years old. He's a COVID kid. Okay, so he had 2 seasons. He redshirted in 2019. Then his second season at Cal State Fullerton, the season was canceled because of COVID. So he goes the JUCO route, right? He goes to Diablo Valley, plays in 10 games in 21, plays in 6 in 22.
So he's trying to get those 2 years put back, basically.
Right. But he played in 6 games. I look at the number of games these guys have played, and I also look at it in a different light than I do some of these pros on the basketball side who went to the NBA, signed contracts, played in games in some cases, and are trying to come back. These are current athletes that are in school that are looking for an extra year. With Aguilar, I don't see it. He played in 6 games at Diablo Valley in his second year there, which is above the 4-game redshirt threshold. Then he played in 14 at App State, 11 at App State, and 13 at Tennessee. Okay, he's played in more than 4 games, 5 years.
He's 25 years old.
And he's 25 years old.
For crying out loud.
And that's just a side note. When I look at these cases, I throw the actual age out the door because, Trinidad Chambliss is another interesting case. He's actually one I think can and should win because he redshirted his first year at Ferris State. He got injured his second year, and he was denied because the NCAA said he didn't have the proper medical documentation that showed he had a medical red shirt in 2022. So his was kind of paperwork related. So he only appeared in 2 games and he didn't throw a pass. And then he played 3 years. He played 2 more at Ferris State. He played in 8 games and then he played in 15. and then he played this past year in 15 at Ole Miss. He's only played 3 seasons of football. So that's when I think,
And how old is he?
Ooh, he'll be, all right, his birthday's in August, right before the season, like 2 weeks before the season. He'll turn 24.
I feel like there should at least be an age limit. Like 25 feels like that's got to be a limit. But like ultimately, big picture, what's happening here is that college athletics is slowly evolving into professional athletics. College football is slowly evolving into professional football. It wasn't, and I think some people were like, it's going to be a light switch. Turns on and suddenly there's pro football. No. That's not the case. It is slowly but surely. Think about the start of this back in 2020, essentially, to where we are now. And like the evolution is there. It's obvious. The shift is happening. And like this is sort of the courts playing the role that they should be playing. Everybody that's sort of waiting for intervention from the federal government, from the Senate or the House of Representatives, like that's not the way that this is going to continue to play out. It's going to continue to play out in courts, which are going to create precedent, and it's going to be fought and go back and forth. Like it takes time. It's not clean. It is disruptive. There are a lot of crazy situations that are going to play out, like the Bediako, the Aguilar situations. But ultimately, like we're slowly but surely creeping closer to, more and more precedent, more and more court rulings that will help dictate the future of the sport. But like, make no mistake about it, this is a slow crawl towards professionalization.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And so you're in favor of versus an eligibility clock, or an eligibility clock with like an age cutoff.
Yes.
For college football.
Correct. Yes.
We talked about some of those guys that were playing JUCO ball that were like in their 50s. Remember that earlier this season?
Yeah.
Who do you think, just take a guess, what is the age of the oldest college football player from this past season, 2025, at the FBS level?
Well, I feel like there's like some really old Australian punters that seem to make their way into the college football. So am I close there?
You're pretty close. The second oldest is a punter. Now, the oldest player that played in FBS or FCS, right, which is considered still Division I, is a punter at Villanova who is 33 this past season. But at the FBS level, take a stab at it.
30?
30. Monte Harrison, a wide receiver, 30 years old, played this past season at Arkansas. And then you have a punter at Hawaii who's 29. After that, the cap seems to be 25. So of all the thousands of college football players, the oldest player was 30, second oldest was 29, and then everybody else was pretty much capped at 25. So 25, which is still like, that's 7 years post-high school, right? Like that's a long time. Anything beyond that just seems outrageous to me.
Outrageous, yeah. That's James Westling, Amari Tepke. Norm Roberts is coming up here in a few minutes, but also wanted to mention kind of a big story we haven't yet talked about, which is, Texas Tech's done a really good job maintaining all of their coaches and assistant coaches. Well, it looks like Zarnell Fitch, the defensive line coach, is not going to return to Texas Tech in 2026. So far, no explanation, and it's really interesting. I mean, this is a guy that's been extremely successful, has been a very good defensive line coach. I mean, I can't imagine Joey McGuire's like, hey, Zarnell, come here. You're no longer our defensive line coach.
Right.
After the season they just had, especially along the defensive line. Like, if there's one position group where you probably don't want to get rid of the coach, it'd be defensive line. So very curious what happened there with Zarnell Fitch.
Yeah.
And why he's out at Texas Tech now.
So from everything that I could gather, and I was deep diving this last night because I thought the same thing. I thought, wait, Texas Tech's defensive line coach isn't returning, and it's kind of weird, some of the language in the release. Sounds to me like this wasn't Texas Tech wanting him to depart. This was he's looking for a pay raise. And Texas Tech is paying defensive coordinator Sheil Wood a ton of money. And the defensive line coach has been heavily sought after at USC. I think LSU took a stab at him. It sounds like he's probably going to USC, and USC is going to pay him a ton to be their defensive line coach. Gary Patterson is their new defensive coordinator. They're overhauling that entire defensive staff, which I think is a win-win for both, right? Like, I'm not going to hate on a guy for getting more money, and I'm also not going to hate on Texas Tech for not paying him what was probably over market value because USC is desperate to fix their defense. This is also a good thing for Joey Maguire that his coaching tree continues to branch off, because it shows that he has a really, really high-level staff, right? All the Hall of Fame coaches, any sport, have these massive coaching trees because of what they're doing with their programs, and Texas Tech is going to go through some of that if they continue to have this level of success.
Well said. By the way, USC has finally figured out the money situation. They have the number 1 recruiting class in the nation for the 2026 class. It's the first time, I think, in a decade that an SEC school was not with the number 1 recruiting class. So, Lincoln Riley has underwhelmed so far in his tenure at USC, but that may be coming to an end moving forward. James Westling, Ari Tepkin, Big 12 today, Big 12 Radio. Our friend Norm Roberts, who is unbelievably good at analyzing college basketball, the former St. John's head coach and Kansas assistant, joins us next with James Ari. It's Big 12 today, Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo and heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Here are the top plays from this week's Freshman of the Week.
Because of the height advantage of TCU, so important that Kansas sets solid screens.
Nichols on the drive, drops it down to Davis for her first 2. Nichols.
At this pace, they may put up 30.
11 makes in conference play, 9 overall.
Yeah. Thank you.
On the drive, counted and won a chance. Went for 12 on 4 of 7 shooting for Kansas last time out. That was a win against Kansas State. That was spiked off the face of Sheffy. Kansas back the other way. And great response by the Jayhawks.
And beyond just the turnovers forced, TCU contested Kansas on 8 of their 11 field goal attempts. Again, they're putting a lot of pressure on this Kansas offense.
Told you that Davis wouldn't quit. TCU averaging 15 turns a game. There's Davis inside for 2 more. TCU cooling off from beyond the arc. They've missed their last 3 three-point attempts after going 6 for their first 6. Breakdown defensively for TCU.
That was a good read by Miles. Copeland went under that on-ball screen, so she just stopped and popped.
Davis, we're learning you can't stop her one-on-one. Muscles it up and one.
All the time Miles needed.
And then 1 of 5 shooting. Again, she's got 9 20-plus ball games, 4-time reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Week, and muscles one home here.
Jalea Davis on that inbounds play just takes the opportunity against Betson, up and under move, gets her defender up in the air.
Evans off the screen. Now on the bounce, gets Davis going down the lane, falling to the deck was Gooden, and it's going to be a blocking foul and one. Gooden fell early. You can see her kind of trying to get over there, but didn't quite get there in time.
12 Radio. Along with James Westling, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. So great to have you with us today and every day. And we are so excited to be joined by Norm Roberts, superb college basketball analyst, and of course the former St. John's head basketball coach and longtime Kansas assistant. How are you, Coach?
Doing great. It's starting to warm up.
Yeah, it's going to be, we were just talking at the break, it's going to be 80 in Dallas today. So, we've had some really cold temperatures. Obviously, Lawrence, we're used to it being a lot colder in Lawrence or in Kansas. So you said it's going to warm up this weekend there too. So looks nice.
Yeah, it's going to be in the 50s, so we'll take it.
Spring is starting to spring, I guess.
I don't believe that, but okay.
Maybe Puxatawny Phil was wrong, is all. It's funny. We've been talking about that this week about, is this Bill Self's best coaching job, which is kind of a funny thing because it feels like every year, different points, we've said it. But, he's coaching two different teams this year and has been throughout the season. And, at this point, they're playing as good a ball as anybody. And, he's had to basically manage two teams and figure out a way to infuse those teams together. It's an impressive, incredible job that he's done.
It really is. In order for him to play without DP and him being in and out of games or playing half the game and not being able to finish a game, and then his team to be able to grow and finish and get better. And you see the growth in Bryson Tiller. You see it in Flory Badunga. You see it even with, the guys coming off the bench and that stuff. And they're just getting better and better as a team. And they really, really, and I think Coach probably enjoys this, I believe they really understand their roles. They understand who they are. Melvin's an attack guy, got to be in attack mode. He wants guys to understand. Trey White, you got to look to score. Those things are important. And I think they got their roles really correct, and I think they're doing well with it.
Coach, is there anything to add about Darren Peterson and what he's done on Big Monday, on the biggest stage at Texas Tech? Rowdy crowd, isn't shooting the ball well, and then he hits two dagger threes late.
He's a stud. He's a guy that can make plays. He's a guy that has supreme confidence. He knows he's a bad boy. And the thing I love about his game is he doesn't act boastful on the court. He doesn't do crazy things and showing off and look at me. No. That's not how he is. Yeah. He's just that silent killer that comes right at you. And you knew when the game was on the line, he's not afraid to make the plays. He's going to make those plays.
Were you involved, I'm assuming, because this was not a one-year process, in recruiting Darren Peterson?
Not a whole lot. Coach Townsend recruited Darren. They have been recruiting Darren since he was a freshman. And that stuff. And Coach Townsend did an unbelievable job. Now we all got to know Darren when his family came in, when he came unofficially, because when we recruit, everybody's got to recruit. Kids got to feel comfortable with everybody. And Darren has one of those personalities, though, that he gravitates to people. People love being around him. He's a good person. He treats people the right way. He's an absolute stud.
Yeah, what a just a genuine, unique human being. And I guess I was just curious, at what point was there this guy's just different? Was it right away as a freshman?
When he got here?
Or no, I just mean throughout the recruiting process. I know you said Coach Townsend was involved, but everybody was involved to a degree. What were people like? He's this dude's on a different level. He's gonna be the greatest player we've ever recruited.
I don't know if Coach felt that way, but I actually didn't really get to see Darren when he was in high school because I was obviously recruiting some other guys and on different coasts. But I just remember every time Coach Townsend and Coach Self came back, they would say, "This dude is different. This dude is a bad man, I'm telling you, he's really good." So I used to watch, film on him and stuff like that. But they were every time the level gets raised and he's got to step up, he meets the challenge every time. He meets it every time. And he's been able to do that here over the past few games too.
Coach, you brought up Oklahoma State during the commercial break and kind of their huge win over BYU. Does Oklahoma State look like a tournament team in your eyes, and what do you see from the Cowboys in terms of their potential?
Yeah, Coach Lutz has done a great job. He's done a great job. They play extremely hard. He plays quite a few people. I think they're another team that's understanding their roles, what they do well. They're going to play through Roy, shooting that ball, and once he gets hot, you cannot let him get off early, because if he starts scoring early, it really energizes their team. They've got inside play. They can score inside in the paint. They're physical defensively. I would say that would be the one thing. They're pretty physical defensively, and they're athletic, and they're always in attack mode. He's got that team going in the right direction. I think they have a great chance to get an NCAA tournament.
Kansas and Utah on Saturday, Arizona and Oklahoma State as well, but the big one is Big Monday. Kansas in 96-97 started 22-0 before losing to Missouri, and obviously we remember that team with Paul Pierce, Ray Friends, and Jacques that, was just incredible, that lost to Arizona in the NCAA tournament. But 22-0 is the furthest any Big 12 team has gone undefeated in a season, so Arizona's at 22-0. Chance to go 23-0, but then Allen Fieldhouse on Monday, so a huge setup for a Monday game. You think they both go in with wins on Saturday, and what do you expect out of Monday's game at Allen Fieldhouse?
I think they both will go in with wins. I don't think those games will be easy. I know Kansas knows Utah will not be an easy game. They're going to have to come ready to play. After what Oklahoma State just did, that place is going to be rocking.
Yeah.
It won't be easy. It won't be easy for Arizona, but I think both teams are going with wins. And then I think it's going to be a situation where the fog makes it very tough for people when you come into the fog. And the bottom line is Kansas has to continue to defend, but they're also going to have to make some shots. They've got to be able to make some perimeter shots, and I know they've shot the ball well over the last few games. They're going to need to do that because Arizona's defense is terrific. And they have such an inside presence with Krivas. He's so big, him and Toby Awaka, they're so big and physical inside, it makes it hard to score in the paint.
Coach, BYU's lost 4 of their last 5 and 3 in a row. What would you do to, correct whatever issues you may see with BYU right now?
I think the biggest thing with BYU is, one, they've got to defend better. They're not defending at a high level. People are scoring too easily on them. I think the other thing is they've got to get something from their bench. They're really not getting much production from their bench. They need somebody else that can score the ball, make a shot, when those guys get tired, because what's happening is the Wrights, the Debanzas, Saunders, they are going to get fatigued now. They're playing a lot of minutes. They're going to get worn down. People are attacking them. People are changing defenses on them. And those things, people are making it harder for them to score. So I think they need to get something from their bench. They need to get some production there where guys are making some plays and making some shots and alleviating some of the pressure off those big three.
Curious for kind of your overall thoughts on how the committee views the Big 12. I think Joey Brackets has 7 bids, with UCF being the cut, and Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma State at this point on the outside looking in, TCU. Do you think that's accurate? I guess how do you view this and as the field overall, and is the Big 12 just more top heavy?
I think, yes, but when you say top heavy, yes, that's 7 really good teams.
True. Yeah.
So
not 2 or 3.
Yeah. So that's pretty darn good. And West Virginia is a dangerous team now. West Virginia, I thought Cincinnati the other night was going to get them. They started off so well, Cincinnati, playing good. Baba Miller was playing terrific. And then obviously West Virginia came back on them. And West Virginia, the one thing about West Virginia now, they're going to defend. They're going to guard. And they're going to keep the scores down and those things. And they got guys that can make plays. Honor can make shots and those things. So I think West Virginia could be that 8th team that gets in there.
Mm-hmm. Coach, it also sounds like, according to Joe Lunardi, that the 1 seeds are like pretty much locked in with Arizona and Michigan, UConn, he doesn't think will lose again, and Duke. And Michigan just beat Penn State last night, by the way, 110-69. Their schedule doesn't really have a lot of challengers the rest of the way. So he also noted that like the gap between what he thinks will be the 1 and the 2 seeds are as big as it's ever been. Not necessarily his opinion, but just how he thinks the committee's going to view these teams. Do you agree with that? Because we don't
think there's a huge gap, but there is a gap. Arizona, Michigan, UConn, and Duke have dominated. You got to give them credit. They have dominated as teams. And like, I don't think, Carolina hopefully can give Duke some trouble and that stuff. But I think after that, I don't think anybody can beat Duke. I think Duke may go undefeated. I do. And Arizona, I don't think they're going to go undefeated, but they've met every challenge, and they're so deep as a team. Michigan, as you said, I don't know how hard their schedule's going to be from here on out. So they're in good shape. And UConn is just starting to hit the surface. UConn is dangerous. They're really, really dangerous because they're so deep as a team. They can score. They got Mullins now scoring off the bounce and off the catch. Karabon hasn't even played great. He's just playing okay. Their big guys are all healthy. UConn's a really, really dangerous team.
Houston BYU this weekend is the premier matchup of the Big 12. BYU has struggled lately. They've lost 3 straight, 4 of 5. What do you? I think Kevin Young's a fantastic coach. What do you make of the struggles of BYU right now?
I think it's probably more on the defensive end than on the offensive end. They've got to defend better. Obviously, they got to rebound. And playing against a Houston team, they're going to take the bands out of the game. And they've got the athletes and the physicality to try to do that. And they're going to take him out of the game. They're going to make it very hard for Saunders to score. I would imagine they're going to try to make Rob Wright be the guy that's going to be the leading scorer in the game, but then force him in the lane where he's got to go against Tugler and Senac as shot blockers and that stuff. So I think it's just a situation where BYU has to figure out how they're going to guard, how they're going to stop people from scoring on them, and then also get things from their bench and maybe get some production inside, with Keita. Maybe him scoring inside, and that they've got to get some production from some other guys because teams are going to try to take out those top 3.
Who's maybe somebody that's from an individual player standpoint under the radar that's kind of you just really enjoy watching? I mean, obviously Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanza, Koa Pete, some of these freshmen have been Studley, Flemings. Like who's maybe an under the radar guy that you just really enjoy watching in the Big 12?
I would say probably I like the kid at UCF, the point guard.
Themis Folks.
Yeah, Folks. I kind of like him. He's tough. He gets in the lane. He makes big shots from him. He always stays poised. People were shaky on could he play at this level. And he's done a good job of stabilizing that team because you can see when he's out of the game, their team changes. They're not as disciplined. They don't take as many good shots. They don't get the ball when they need to. I think he gives them a toughness that helps their team defensively too. So I would say him at UCF.
That's a great call. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Coach, but that's a great call.
No.
For Dawkins, what a huge addition to go the more experienced route. It's a guy that's been around the block. You're right. He plays with poise at a level that few teams have, quite frankly, at the point guard position.
Mm-hmm. And he makes them a dangerous team. They're dangerous to end. I know Houston put it on him the other day, but Houston's going to put it on many people when you go to Houston, and they're making shots and those things. But they're a dangerous team, and Texas Tech's another dangerous team. I know they've had some troubles of late, but when you look at it, all these teams coming up in the next 2 weeks are going to have like tough 3-game or
Right.
2-game stretches.
Right.
You know, Arizona's got, after Oklahoma State, which won't be easy, they've got KU, they got Tech, and they've got BYU and Houston. They got a 4-game stretch that's going to be really, 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 really tough on them. You know, Houston's later on has, you know, Iowa State, Arizona, and KU back to back. So you'll find out where they're at. You know, and Iowa State's got KU, Houston, and BYU back to back. So
Great
you're
point.
going to find out quite a bit in the next 2.5 weeks.
Great point. Always great to visit with Norm Roberts. Have a great weekend, bud. Thank you so much for your time as always. Take care.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. See you.
The great Norm Roberts joining us here on Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. Yeah, I mean, Arizona, man, like they're about to get it. So Oklahoma State, at Kansas on Monday. Next weekend, Texas Tech. BYU coming out of that. At Houston, at Baylor. At Baylor's not an easy game. Then Kansas at home following that. Iowa State, then you close with Colorado.
Right. Of the teams that are the projected 1 seeds or even the top 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament, nobody has a tougher schedule than Arizona. And I think that's just kind of how things worked out this year, right? They're better than we had anticipated coming into the season. They were a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament last year and lost a lot of key pieces. They are dominant on both ends of the floor. So with them, you know, they're probably maybe the you know, health is very subjective, but based off their schedule and how many guys they play, like they have the strength and the physicality to withstand a schedule like this. But with that said, they run the table against this. We're talking about one of the best college basketball teams in the history of the sport because it's that brutal.
That's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. It's Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn. On the way next, one league is cutthroat in college sports. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
With Stacey.
Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
Emphasis on guarding the three-point line, but you got to wonder, Iowa State shooting close to 70%, close to 12 minutes into this game. Audie Crooks just...
Here is Fritz. She's got 8. Iowa State on a 6-0 run over the last 30 seconds. Collins tries to stop it and does.
The Cyclones' way, 10-0 run over the last minute 45.
Well, Sydney Harris, starter, Kerr Central Michigan, spent some time at TCU. Collins answers with the 3. She's got 14 in the ball game. Who they almost had to lock her out of the practice gym at times. Love outside, no. Collins, offensive rebound and the putback.
And now they're just as good, if not better in a lot of ways this season, and you got to give a lot of credit to what Mark Campbell has done. The reason they haven't been able to get so many stops is because of the pressure Olivia Miles puts on the rim.
3 made by Santa Collins. A quick answer from Taylor Bigby from TCU. Yeah, just 3 assists for Olivia Miles here today. 48 assists away from breaking TCU's single season assist record. Spin move by Collins.
Open, drag to the lane. It was because Maddie Shear was forcing her left. Collins.
That was the 4th foul for Maddie Shear. What a move. Santa Collins all over in the paint.
Looks like Snetta Collins might have gotten away with a little bit of a push-off. You've got elite shooters from TCU on the perimeter. Ball security down the stretch of this game with 30 seconds left is going to be huge. Snetta Collins
taking the 3-point lead.
How about it? Just coming on.
Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. For all you Modelo full-time fans, enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. And of course, best way to enjoy Super Bowl Sunday is with a 6, 12, 24, whatever pack of Modelo. If you got people over, more than 24 for sure. One league is cutthroat. We'll get to that in a second, James. James Westling, Ari Temkin, Big 12 today on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. We've been talking about this upcoming draft, which could be one of the best ever. The 2013 NBA draft.
2013
is one of the all-time, this may be the worst draft in the history of basketball.
Oh, I love this game.
Okay, so this is the Giannis draft. Mm-hmm. Giannis was taken 15th overall. Mm-hmm. First pick, Anthony Bennett. Mm-hmm. Victor Oladipo. Otto Porter 3rd. Cody Zeller 4th. Alex Len 5th. Nerlens Noel 6th. Ben McLemore 7th. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope 8th. Trey Burke 9, CJ McCollum 10, Michael Carter Williams 11. He was the rookie of the year of that class, by the way. Steven Adams 12, Kelly Olynyk 13, Shabazz Muhammad 14, Giannis 15. I mean, and then you go through the rest of it, like first, second round, you get Mason Plumlee. You did get Rudy Gobert 27th. My God, this is a horrible draft. Solomon Hill 23rd, even the second round. It's like just a who's who of guys that you've never heard of or that played for a very short period of time.
Thought we were going to do a little pop quiz, but I guess not. That's fine.
Sorry, I apologize.
That was a bad draft. As soon as you said 2013, my first thought was Anthony Bennett.
Yep.
Because that was the draft that nobody wanted the number 1 overall pick because nobody knew who they were going to take. There were no good options. There are some other drafts that haven't been great. At least at the top. Like, you think back, the Philadelphia 76ers had back-to-back number 1 overall picks, 2016 and 2017. And they took Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz. Those were not great drafts.
But who was second to the Markelle Fultz draft?
In 2017, second was Lonzo Ball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Number 3, Boston struck gold with Jason Tatum. Josh Jackson from Kansas was number 4.
Sacramento?
He was taken, I filtered. He was taken by, in 2017, he was taken by Phoenix.
Got it, okay.
He's averaged 11 points per game over the course of his career.
Sacramento's been so bad at the top of the draft. Like, if they get the number 1 pick, I wouldn't be surprised to see them take, like, not Derek Peterson or A.J. Batson.
Yeah. The Kings have been drafting in the top 5 for a decade.
Basically every year.
And just continue to miss. Now
like, their heyday included losses in the Western Conference Finals. Like the greatest Sacramento Kings teams of all time.
Yes, I loved those teams.
Chris Webber.
Starting 5, ready, go.
Mike Bibby, Chris Webber, Peja.
Vlade Divac and Doug Christie.
Yeah. Doug Christie.
Number 13, off guard. I was obsessed with those Kings teams.
Yeah. Christie used to always put his hand in the air.
And then
the basket. Are you raising your head, Doug, or what? Doug Christie, go ahead. Yes?
And
you have to answer that?
That Netflix documentary that basically confirmed all of the thoughts I had that those Western Conference Finals were rigged by the NBA to get the Lakers in the finals. The Kings had Game 6 in the bag.
Yeah.
In the bag.
Well, also, the Kings either lost to the Lakers or the Spurs basically every year.
Yeah. Yep.
You betting on the Super Bowl?
I don't gamble.
Yeah, but it's the Super Bowl.
We gonna do a little.
You gonna do squares?
Prop bet action.
Prop bets. Like, there's a million ways to bet on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the national anthem is always my favorite because you're dialed in for the national anthem. Like you're always right there, ready to go. By like middle of the second quarter, you kind of forget what were my bets, but the national anthem and the over just hits year over year over year. They keep stretching that thing. What is the over under this year?
Yeah, I was just trying to look for that. 119.5 seconds.
So we're almost to 2 minutes. We're almost to 2 minutes.
You know my thing about my take on the national anthem? If you have a national anthem over 2 minutes, it's about you. It's no longer about the country. Like, there should never be a national anthem over 2 minutes. Yeah. And yet, when you do the Super Bowl national anthem, the over hits every year because it's always over 2 minutes.
It's a 90-second song. It's written for 90 seconds. That's fact.
If you're going for 2 minutes, now it's about you. Now it's not about the country.
Right. How many pauses and big, deep breaths do you need?
Oh, yeah. Most are over 2 minutes. T-Chains said Whitney's was over 2 minutes. I mean, pretty much every year they hit over 2 minutes. It's why the over cashes every year. Now they've learned and they put the over-under basically at 2 minutes. Do you think it's 2 minutes? Do you think it's under?
You know what else was a bad draft? Last year's. 2024. Remember all those international players that were barely playing overseas?
Yeah.
Like the number 1 overall pick, the Rishner kid who the Hawks took.
Ricochet?
Yeah, Ricochet.
He's good. Look.
Okay, he's averaging 11 points per game.
2013, there's enough time. Give it some time.
Fair. That's fair. But how do you say his last name?
Ricochet. Zachary Ricochet.
Averaging like 6 points per game.
11, you said.
No. In the EuroLeague when he got drafted. His numbers were not good.
Yeah.
Neither were SARS. Wild stuff.
Yeah. I brought up the betting on the Super Bowl because the Seahawks are the first team to receive 70% or more of these spread bets in the Super Bowl. So they are an overwhelming favorite in the public. You know what they say?
Fade the public.
What's
the line? What's the actual line on the game?
Why do you keep asking me questions that I don't have readily available?
Well, because that's, I knew you could get to it.
The line is 4.5.
4.5. Yeah.
Yeah, give me the Patriots.
Totally.
I think Seattle wins it, but by a field goal.
That feels really high. Like, there's not that much of a gap between these teams, right?
No.
4.5?
Can you imagine how Jets fans have to feel about this? Like, the Jets are an eternal grease fire. And they're now about to watch...
Taman, are you a Jets fan?
No, he's a Cowboys fan.
That's
Come
right.
on.
Sorry, Taman.
Jets fans are now about to watch a former top 5 pick of their own franchise potentially win a Super Bowl against their most hated rival that has, for basically decades, dominated the Jets. Decades. Even the heyday of the Jets in recent history was Mark Sanchez losing back-to-back years in the AFC Championship to the Jets, to the Patriots.
Their heyday, like they went 11-5. Okay, they went 10-6 one year. That's their heyday.
So I can't imagine how a Jets fan feels in watching this game, where like Sam Darnold, who was, saw ghosts against the Patriots in a game for the Jets, potentially winning a Super Bowl against the Patriots.
They've been so bad. Man, they've been bad.
Anytime you think your franchise is bad, just look at the Jets.
I mean, they have lost double-digit games, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. 11 of the last 12 seasons. Double-digit loss seasons. 11 of the last 12. That's worse than the Browns.
Well, and it's not like they've won one Super Bowl, and it was Super Bowl 3. We're on Super Bowl 60.
How are they so bad? it takes effort to be that bad over the course of 60 years. I mean, like, with a little bit of luck, you could get a Super Bowl somewhere. That's amazing.
Apollo 11 landed on the moon on July 20th, 1969, which was 6 months after the Jets won the Super Bowl. We hadn't been to the moon when the Jets won the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. And, man, this past year they had the worst in yards allowed. They had the worst defense in the NFL and the second worst offense. That's bad.
It's bad.
That's bad.
It's real bad. The Giants aren't any better, but the problem is the Giants have had multiple Super Bowl wins with the last, 100 years.
So the NFL draft order is set, right?
Except for the last two. I love that the NFL does it that way.
Wait, what now?
Like you win this. It's not based on record.
Yeah.
It's how far you made it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, 30 teams are set.
Okay.
So the last two picks to be set will be 31 and 32 here.
So who's got the Raiders? Raiders got the number 1 pick. Jets number 2.
Isn't that amazing too, right? Like this is the wrong draft to be having if you need a quarterback.
Yeah,
the number 2 pick in.
Dante Moore's going back to Oregon because he was terrified he'd be drafted by the Jets. What does that say about your franchise? He's turning down $50+ million because he's scared that the Jets might draft him and bury his career.
In most cases, guys can get more in NIL, but if you're the number 2 overall pick at quarterback, you're going to get more money going to the NFL than you could in NIL. Like, not even close.
Not even close. That says a lot.
Finally, the WAC is fighting back. They're cutthroat against Utah Valley.
Hilarious.
So basically, Utah Valley is leaving the WAC. The WAC, by the way, is also leaving the WAC. The WAC is going to be rebranded as the United Athletic Conference, which I'm not sure what that sounds like. It definitely doesn't sound like a college conference.
Which they already do for football. They're an FCS league for football, but now they're leaning in collectively across all sports.
So basically, Utah Valley is leaving to go to the Big West Conference, and they were basically they owed the conference $1 million in an exit fee, and they're not paying it. And so the WAC is taking all of the Utah Valley games in college basketball off TV, and still taking them to court. They're actually taking them to court in Tarrant County, Texas, which is in Dallas, Fort Worth.
This is juicy because there's a lot of layers. To just pull all of their TV broadcasts, the general consensus is, wow, that's a petty move. And the WAC has turned off their replies on all social media. You can't even air out your grievances about this. But then also, like, there's word that the issue that the WAC appears to have is with Utah Valley leadership and the lack of payment, obviously, but they're penalizing the athletes. Like, the athletes are the ones that are ultimately suffering. Families can't watch games. Fans can't watch games. So there's a lot of outrage on both sides.
What's the right move here? If they owe money and they're not going to pay it, what are you going to do? The WAC needs all the money they can get. By the way, so does Utah Valley.
Yeah.
Crazy. Fighting for scraps.
I don't know what I would think the right move wouldn't be this, because this like...
Right, you're punishing people that have no
skin in the game.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know what the right move would be.
Yeah. Just take them to court and get your money.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
That.
All right. Great week. Of course, we are launching our football series next week, ranking the top 5 new additions in the Big 12 via position. Offensive line will be on Monday, so stay tuned for that. Thanks to Anthony Smith, our great producer with Big 12 Studios. Thanks to Cheat Chains, our great producer with TuneIn. Thanks to James Westling. I'm Ari Temkin. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. Hopefully it's full of a lot of Modelo's. But for now, we're out. Peace.